That waitress stole my necklace. The accusation sliced through the restaurant's quiet hum. I froze mid-step, the coffee pot still warm in my hand. Every head in Romano's turned toward me. Every conversation died. I looked up to see her. Vanessa Hartwell. The kind of woman who wore her cruelty like expensive perfume. Her hand clutched her designer purse, her face twisted in manufactured outrage. Behind her stood two men in dark suits, their eyes cold and watchful. And behind them, at the corner table, sat the man everyone whispered about but never named directly. Vincent Calabrese. They called him other things too, in hushed voices, when they thought no one important was listening. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. My voice came out steady. 3 years of serving entitled customers had taught me that much, at least. My diamond necklace. Vanessa's voice rose, sharp enough to cut glass.
$52.
I had it in my purse when I sat down. Now it's gone, and you're the only one who came near our table. The restaurant manager, Bill, rushed over. His face had gone pale. "Mrs. Hartwell, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. Claire is one of our most trusted." "Are you calling me a liar?" Vanessa stepped closer to me. Her perfume was overpowering. "I want the police called. I want her arrested. I want everyone to see what happens to little thieves who think they can steal from people like me. People like her." The words burned in my throat, but I swallowed them down. "I didn't take anything from you," I said. "You can search me. You can check my locker. You can watch the security footage. I have nothing to hide." Vanessa's smile was thin and sharp. "Oh, we'll search everything. But first, I want you to apologize for what you did." Something cold settled in my chest. This woman didn't care about a necklace. She wanted something else. I could see it in the way her eyes glittered, in the way she positioned herself, so everyone could watch. She wanted a show. She wanted me broken and begging in front of all these people. "Friend, before I tell you what happened next, I need you to understand something. There are moments in life when you realize that fairness is just a story we tell ourselves to sleep better at night. This was one of those moments. But I also need you to do me a kindness. Tap that subscribe button, because what happened in the next 60 seconds changed everything, and you won't want to miss a single detail of how this played out. My name is Claire Morrison, 32 years old. Widow. Former military wife who learned things most people only see in movies. This is the story of how I went from being humiliated in front of a crowded restaurant to standing beside the most dangerous man in the city, and how we built something neither of us saw coming. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 3 years ago, I believed in simple things. Wake up, work hard, go home, repeat. I believed that if you kept your head down and did your job well, life would eventually reward you. I believed that good people faced good outcomes and bad people faced consequences. I believed in justice, in fairness, in the basic human decency that my husband Mike used to talk about during our late-night conversations. Mike Morrison, Secret Service, died protecting someone important whose name I was never told. He left me with an empty apartment, a flag folded into a triangle, and skills I never thought I'd need to use. He trained me because he worried. Because his job showed him how dangerous the world really was. Because he loved me enough to make sure I could protect myself if he wasn't around to do it. Again, he'd say during our sessions in the basement, "Faster. Your attacker won't give you time to think." I'd learned to read body language, to spot threats, to move in ways that turned someone's strength against them. I'd learned to stay calm when everyone else panicked. I'd learned that awareness was better than any weapon. I thought I'd never need any of it. But standing there in Romano's, watching Vanessa's performance, I felt Mike's training click into place like a key turning in a lock. This woman wasn't just accusing me. She was setting me up. The two men in suits had positioned themselves to block the exits. Bill was already pulling out his phone, and Vanessa's hand had curled into a fist. "I'm waiting for that apology," Vanessa said. "I won't apologize for something I didn't do." Her face darkened. "You little..." The slap came fast and hard. Her hand cracked across my cheek with enough force to snap my head sideways. The The coffee pot slipped from my grip and shattered on the tile floor. The sound echoed through the silence. Pain bloomed across my face, hot and sharp. Everyone in that restaurant watched me, waiting to see if I'd crumble, waiting to see if I'd cry or beg or apologize for existing in Vanessa's world. But something else happened instead. I turned my head back slowly, looked Vanessa directly in the eyes, and slapped her back. The sound was louder this time. Cleaner. My palm connected with her cheek with the full weight of 3 years of grief and exhaustion and rage at people who thought they owned the world. Vanessa stumbled backward, her hand flying to her face. For a moment, she looked genuinely shocked, like she'd forgotten that actions had consequences. You hit me," she whispered. "You hit me first," I said. The two men in suits moved. Fast. Professional. The kind of movement that said they'd done this before. The first one grabbed for my arm. I pivoted, used his momentum to pull him off balance, and drove my elbow into his solar plexus. He folded with a grunt. The second one tried to grab me from behind. I dropped low, swept his legs, and watched him hit the floor hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. 4 seconds. That's all it took. The restaurant exploded into noise. Chairs scraped. People gasped. Bill dropped his phone, and Vincent Calabrese stood up from his corner table. He moved with a kind of quiet authority that made everyone else seem like children playing dress-up. Tall. Dark hair touched with gray at the temples. Eyes that missed nothing. He wore a simple black suit that probably cost more than my car, but he wore it like he'd forgotten he had it on. "Enough," he said. One word. Soft. But the entire restaurant went silent again. He walked toward us, and I watched his eyes take in everything. His two men on the floor, both struggling to breathe. Vanessa, with her hand still pressed to her reddening cheek. Me, standing in the broken pieces of the coffee pot, my own cheek burning but my shoulders squared. Vincent looked at me for a long moment. Then he looked at Vanessa. "Where's the necklace?" he asked her. "What?" Vanessa's voice cracked. "Vincent, she has it. She stole." "Where's the necklace, Vanessa?" Something passed between them. Something cold and final. Vanessa's face went pale. I must have left it at home," she whispered. "But I could have sworn." "You could have sworn." Vincent's voice was quiet. Too quiet. "So you accused this woman of theft, had her assaulted, and tried to have her arrested for something you never actually lost." "It was a mistake," Vanessa said quickly. "An honest mistake. I thought." "No." Vincent cut her off. "You thought you could humiliate someone for your entertainment. You thought my name would protect you from consequences." He turned to me. His eyes were dark and unreadable. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. His voice had gentled, like he was talking to someone who mattered. "I'm fine," I said. "You took down Marco and Tony in under 5 seconds." The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "Where did you learn to move like that?" "My husband taught me." "He taught you well." Vincent glanced at his two men, who were now climbing to their feet and looking everywhere except at me. He was military? Secret Service. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. "I'm sorry for what happened here," he said. "And I'm sorry you had to defend yourself in your own workplace." He turned to Bill, who looked like he might pass out. "This woman works for you?" "Why, yes, sir," Bill stammered. "She's getting a raise," Vincent said. 20%. Effective immediately. "And you're going to tell everyone here that there was no theft, no crime, and no reason for anyone to speak poorly of her. Are we clear?" Bill nodded, so hard I thought his head might fall off. Vincent pulled out his wallet and placed $500 bills on the nearest table. "For the coffee pot," he said. Then he looked at me again. "And for your trouble." "I don't want your money," I said. The restaurant went quiet again. Even Vanessa looked shocked. Vincent studied me with those dark, calculating eyes. I got the feeling he was solving an equation no one else could see. "Then what do you want?" he asked. "An apology," I said. "From her." I pointed at Vanessa, who looked like she'd been asked to swallow glass. "Vanessa," Vincent said softly. Apologize. Vincent, you can't be. Apologize. Now. Vanessa's face twisted with rage and humiliation. But she saw something in Vincent's expression that made her swallow whatever protest she'd been building. I'm sorry, she forced out. Each word sounded like it hurt. I was wrong. You didn't steal anything.
Thank you, I said.
Vincent nodded once. Then he looked at his two men. We're leaving, he said. He glanced at Vanessa. You're taking a taxi home. I'll send for your things tomorrow. Vanessa's eyes went wide.
What?
Vincent, please. But he was already walking away. His men followed, still rubbing their bruised ribs and egos. Vanessa stood there for another moment, her face cycling through shock and anger and something that might have been fear. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out, her heels clicking against the tile like gunshots. The restaurant stayed quiet for another 5 seconds. Then everyone started talking at once. Bill hurried over to me, his hands shaking. Claire, I am so sorry. I should have defended you. I should have. It's okay, I said. My voice sounded far away. My hands had started trembling now that the adrenaline was fading. I need to clean up this coffee.
No.
Bill grabbed my arm gently. You need to take the rest of the night off. Go home. Rest. We'll handle everything here. I wanted to argue, but my legs suddenly felt weak. My cheek throbbed where Vanessa had hit me, and my mind kept replaying those 4 seconds when I'd moved without thinking, when Mike's training had taken over and turned me into someone else. Someone dangerous. I grabbed my purse from my locker and walked out into the cool night air. The street was quiet. A few cars passed. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. I touched my cheek and winced. It was already swelling. You're going to have a bruise. I spun around. Vincent Calabrese stood 5 feet away, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. Are you following me? I asked. I'm making sure you get home safely, he said. A woman was just assaulted in my presence. That reflects poorly on me. I can take care of myself. I noticed. That almost smile again. But humor me anyway. He gestured to a black car parked at the curb. The engine was running. Every instinct Mike had drilled into me screamed not to get into a car with a stranger. Especially not this stranger. But something else, something I couldn't quite name, made me hesitate. Vincent Calabrese. The man everyone whispered about. The man whose name made grown men nervous. The man who'd just offended me when he had no reason to. I live 3 blocks away, I said. I'll walk. Then I'll walk with you. Why? He was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. Because Vanessa will be angry tonight, he said. And angry people do stupid things. I want to make sure you're safe. Something in his tone made me believe him. So I started walking, and he fell into step beside me. His presence was solid and oddly comforting, like having a guard dog that everyone else was terrified of. We walked in silence for half a block. Then Vincent spoke. Your husband, the Secret Service agent. What was his name? Mike Morrison. How long has he been gone? 3 years. I'm sorry. The words were simple, but they sounded genuine. Not the automatic condolence people usually offered. Something real. He died doing what he loved, I said. Protecting people. He taught you well.
He worried about me.
He was right to worry, Vincent said quietly. The world is dangerous.
We reached my apartment building. Small.
Ordinary. The kind of place that didn't have a doorman or fancy lobbies. I stopped at the entrance and turned to face him. Thank you, I said, for what you did back there. I should be thanking you, Vincent replied. You showed me something important tonight. What's that? That Vanessa was never the woman I thought she was. His eyes were dark and distant. And that I've been making excuses for her for far too long. He handed me a card. Simple.
White.
Just a phone number printed in black ink. If she causes you any more trouble, he said, call me. I can handle. I know you can, he interrupted gently. But you shouldn't have to. He turned to walk away. Then he paused and looked back. That move you used on Tony, he said. The leg sweep. Mike taught you that? Yes. It was perfect, Vincent said. Textbook. Your husband would be proud. Then he was gone, disappearing into the darkness like smoke. I stood there for a long moment, holding his card, my cheek throbbing, my mind spinning. What had just happened? I'd slapped a Mafia boss's fiancé. I'd taken down 2 of his men. I'd refused his money. And instead of ending up in a river somewhere, I'd gotten an apology, a raise, and a phone number. I climbed the stairs to my apartment and locked the door behind me. The place felt emptier than usual. The silence pressed in from all sides. I looked at Vincent's card again. Just a phone number. No name. Nothing else. I should throw it away, I thought. I should forget this night ever happened and go back to my simple, quiet life. But something told me that simple and quiet had just ended forever. And what I didn't know yet, what I couldn't possibly have known, was that everything Vanessa had done tonight wasn't an accident or a mistake, or even just cruelty for cruelty's sake. It was a test, and I had just passed it in ways that would change everything. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Vanessa's hand coming toward my face, felt the sharp crack of impact, heard the silence that followed when I hit her back. My body kept replaying those 4 seconds when training became instinct, when I stopped being Claire the waitress and became someone Mike had spent years preparing me to be. Someone capable. I got up at 5 in the morning and made coffee. I didn't drink. Stared at Vincent's card on my kitchen counter. Just a phone number on white paper, but it felt heavier than it should. My phone buzzed. A text from Bill. Don't come in today. Take the day off.
Paid.
You've earned it. I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt restless. Like standing still was dangerous somehow. The bruise on my cheek had bloomed overnight. Purple and ugly. I covered it with makeup as best I could, but it still showed through. A reminder of what happened when you stood up to people who thought they owned the world. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This is Vincent Calabrese. I hope you don't mind that I got your number from your manager. I wanted to make sure you were all right. I stared at the message for a full minute. The most dangerous man in the city was checking on me like I was someone who mattered. I typed back.
I've fine.
Thank you for asking. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Would you have coffee with me this morning? There's something I'd like to discuss. Every rational part of my brain screamed no. You didn't have coffee with men like Vincent Calabrese. You didn't get involved in their world. You kept your head down and stayed invisible and survived. But my fingers typed where, before my brain could stop them. He sent an address. A cafe I'd never heard of. 20 minutes away. I changed into jeans and a simple blue sweater. Pulled my dark hair back. Looked at myself in the mirror and saw Mike's wife staring back. The woman he'd loved. The woman he'd trained. The woman who'd promised him she'd never let the world make her small. Okay, I whispered to my reflection. Let's see what this is about. The cafe was small and tucked away on a quiet street. The kind of place where people came for actual coffee, not Instagram photos. Through the window, I saw Vincent sitting at a corner table, his back to the wall, his eyes on the door. Waiting. He stood when I walked in. Old-fashioned manners that felt out of place in a man everyone feared. Thank you for coming, he said. You said you wanted to discuss something. I did. He gestured to the seat across from him. Please.
Iset.
A waitress appeared immediately with coffee and pastries I hadn't ordered. She didn't make eye contact with either of us. Just set everything down and disappeared. Vincent studied me across the table. His eyes were intelligent and calculating. Like he was reading a book written in a language only he understood. How's your cheek? He asked.
Sore.
But I've had worse. From your husband's training? He didn't go easy on me, I said. He said if I was going to learn, I needed to learn right. Half measures got people killed. Vincent nodded slowly. He sounds like he was a good man. He was the best man I've ever known. What did he teach you? Besides the obvious combat skills. The question surprised me. Most people didn't ask about Mike. They just offered condolences and changed the subject. He taught me to read people, I said. Body language. Micro expressions. The difference between someone who's nervous and someone who's dangerous. He taught me that awareness beats strength every time. That the best fight is the one you see coming early enough to avoid. And he taught you to stay calm under pressure. Always. Panic gets you killed. Calm keeps you alive. Vincent picked up his coffee cup. His hands were steady. No rings except one simple band on his right hand. Last night, he said quietly, you moved like someone with military training. Professional. Efficient.
No wasted motion.
Marco and Tony are good at what they do, and you put them down in seconds. That's not something a civilian picks up from a few self-defense classes. Mike was thorough. He must have loved you very much. Vincent set his cup down. To invest that kind of time, that kind of care. Men like him, men who see real danger every day, they don't train someone unless they desperately want to keep them safe. Something in my chest tightened. He did love me. Very much. We sat in silence for a moment. The cafe hummed with quiet conversation around us. Normal people living normal lives. None of them knew who was sitting in the corner booth. None of them felt the weight of this conversation. Can I ask you something? Vincent said. You're going to anyway. That almost smile again. Why did you hit her back? Because she hit me first. That's not an answer. Vincent leaned forward slightly. You could have walked away. Called the police. Let me handle it. But you chose to hit her back immediately. Why? I thought about lying. About giving him some easy answer that would end this conversation. But something in his eyes told me he'd know. This man spent his life reading people, seeing through their masks. Mike had taught me the same skill, and I recognized it in him. Because I'm tired, I said finally. Tired of people like her thinking they can do whatever they want. Tired of being invisible. Tired of swallowing my anger and my pain and my grief just so other people feel comfortable. Vincent's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Understanding, maybe. 3 years is a long time to carry that weight, he said. You don't stop carrying it. You just get better at hiding it. He nodded slowly. Then he did something I didn't expect. He rolled up his left sleeve, revealing a tattoo on his forearm. A name and dates. Maria Calabrese. Born 1985. Died 2016. My sister, he said quietly. She was killed by someone who thought my name made him untouchable. Someone who thought he could take what he wanted, because he was protected. I learned that day that anger is useful, but only if you channel it correctly. I'm sorry, I said. And I meant it. So am I. He rolled his sleeve back down. But I'm telling you this because I understand what you're carrying. And I'm about to ask you something that might seem strange. What? Vincent was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Vanessa will come after you, he said. Not physically. She's too smart for that. But she'll try to destroy your life in other ways. Your job. Your reputation. She has connections and she'll use them. What happened last night humiliated her publicly. She won't let that go. Ice formed in my stomach. So, what are you saying? I'm saying I can protect you. But I need something in return. There it was. The real reason for this meeting. Nothing was ever free in his world. What do you want? I asked. I need someone I can trust, Vincent said. Someone who isn't part of my usual circle. Someone who sees things clearly. Someone who can move in spaces where my men would be too obvious. And someone who can handle themselves if things go wrong. You want me to work for you? I want to offer you a position. Personal security. Consulting. Call it whatever makes you comfortable. But yes, I want you in my orbit. I should have said no. Should have stood up and walked out. But something made me pause. Why me? I asked. You have Marco and Tony and probably 50 other people who do this for you already. Because they're loyal to my position, not to me, Vincent said. They follow orders because that's what they do. But you? You hit Vanessa because it was the right thing to do, even knowing who she was engaged to. You refused my money because you didn't want to be bought. You put down 2 trained men because they threatened you. That's not loyalty to a position. That's character. He leaned back in his chair. And because you're smart enough to be having this conversation instead of running away, he added. You know Vanessa won't stop. You know you'll need protection. And you're considering my offer because you're practical enough to recognize an opportunity when you see one. He was right. I hated that he was right, but he was... What would this job actually involve? I asked. Meetings. Dinners. Events where I need someone watching my back, who isn't obviously a bodyguard. You'd be compensated extremely well. Better than any waitressing job could offer. And you'd have my protection, which in this city means something. And if I say no, then you say no, Vincent said simply. I'll make sure Vanessa leaves you alone anyway. But you'll go back to Romano's and your apartment and your quiet life. Nothing changes except you'll be looking over your shoulder for a while. I picked at my coffee. It had gone cold. I drank it anyway, buying time to think. Mike's voice echoed in my head. The most dangerous moment is when someone offers you exactly what you need. That's when you're most likely to miss the trap. But was this a trap? Or was it actually what Vincent said it was? An opportunity. A way out of the gray fog I'd been living in for 3 years. I need time to think about it, I said. Of course. Vincent pulled out another card. This one had an address. Come to this location tomorrow night. 8 o'clock. I'm hosting a dinner. Come see what my world actually looks like before you decide.
No commitment.
Just observation. I took the card. One more thing, Vincent said. The dinner is formal. You'll need to dress appropriately. I can dress myself, I interrupted. That almost smile became a real one. Small, but genuine. I believe you can, he said. We stood. He offered his hand. I shook it. His grip was firm but not aggressive. The handshake of someone who didn't need to prove anything. Thank you for the coffee, I said. Thank you for considering my offer. I walked out of the cafe and into the morning sunlight. My phone was already buzzing before I reached my car. 3 missed calls from an unknown number. Then a text. This is Vanessa. We need to talk. What you did was assault. I have witnesses. Call me back, or I'm going to the police. My hands tightened on the phone.
Vincent had been right.
She wasn't going to let this go. Another text came through. This one from Vincent. Ignore her. I've already handled it. She won't be contacting you again. I looked back at the cafe. Vincent was still sitting at the corner table, his phone in his hand, his eyes on me through the window. He nodded once. My phone buzzed again. Vanessa. Vincent can't protect you forever. You made a mistake hitting me. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. But then the text stopped. Complete silence. I got in my car and sat there for a long moment, staring at Vincent's address card. Tomorrow night. A formal dinner. A glimpse into his world. Every instinct said to run. To stay in my safe, small life. To avoid men like Vincent Calabrese and women like Vanessa Hartwell. But a smaller, quieter voice reminded me of what Mike used to say. Safe isn't the same as alive, Claire. Don't confuse the two. I drove home and spent the rest of the day researching. Vincent Calabrese. His businesses. His reputation. The careful line he walked between legitimate and not. The rumors. The facts. The gray area where he seemed to live most of his life. Nothing I found made me feel better about tomorrow night. But nothing made me want to refuse either. By the time evening came, I'd made my decision. I was going to that dinner. Not because I was accepting his offer. Not because I trusted him. But because for the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than numb. I felt curious. And maybe that was dangerous. But maybe dangerous was exactly what I needed. I pulled out the one formal dress I owned. Black. Simple. The one I'd bought for Mike's funeral and never worn again. I held it up to the light and saw all the memories stitched into the fabric. What would you think about all this? I whispered to the empty apartment. Would you tell me to run? Or would you tell me to see it through? The apartment didn't answer. It never did. But somewhere in my chest, I felt something shift. Like a door I'd locked 3 years ago was starting to open. Just a crack. Just enough to let a sliver of light through. I hung the dress on my closet door and went to bed early. Tomorrow night would change everything.
I didn't know how yet.
Didn't know if it would be good or terrible or somewhere in between. But I knew this. Vincent Calabrese had seen something in me last night. Something I'd forgotten existed. And part of me desperately wanted to find out what it was. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known as I drifted off to sleep, was that Vanessa's accusations were just the beginning. That her silence wasn't surrender. And that Vincent's offer wasn't just about protection or employment. It was about something much bigger. Something that would pull me into a world where loyalty was currency and trust was the rarest commodity. A world where the wrong move meant death and the right move meant power. And tomorrow night, at that dinner, I would meet the people who really ran the city. The people who would either destroy me or make me stronger than I'd ever imagined possible. The address Vincent gave me led to a mansion in the hills. The kind of place that didn't have neighbors, only acres of manicured gardens and iron gates that looked decorative, but probably weren't. I sat in my car at the entrance, staring at the intercom button, my hand hovering but not pressing. This was my last chance to turn around, to go back to my apartment and my simple life and pretend the last 2 days never happened. I pressed the button. Name. A voice crackled through the speaker. Claire Morrison. Vincent invited me. The gates swung open silently. I drove up a long driveway lined with old oak trees, their branches forming a tunnel overhead. The mansion appeared gradually. Stone and glass and elegant lines. Beautiful in a way that felt deliberate and careful. Nothing was accidental here. I parked next to cars that cost more than I'd make in 5 years. A valet appeared, young and professional. Ms. Morrison, he said. Not a question. Mr. Calabrese is expecting you. Please follow the path to the main entrance. I got out and smoothed down my black dress. It felt too simple suddenly. Too plain. But it was all I had, and I'd learned from Mike that confidence mattered more than expensive clothes. The front door opened before I reached it. A woman in her 50s stood there, elegant and composed. Her eyes assessed me in 2 seconds flat. Ms. Morrison. I'm Eleanor, Mr. Calabrese's household manager. May I take your coat? I wasn't wearing one. The October evening was warm enough. I'm fine, thank you. Of course. Please follow me. She led me through hallways that belonged in museums. Art on the walls. Real art, not prints. Sculptures on pedestals. Everything was beautiful and expensive, and somehow cold despite the warm lighting. We reached a large dining room. 20 people stood in clusters, holding wine glasses, their conversation a low hum. They all looked like they belonged here, comfortable in their designer clothes and easy wealth. I felt every eye turn toward me when I entered, measuring, evaluating, deciding if I was worth their attention. Claire. Vincent appeared at my elbow. He wore a dark suit that fit him perfectly. His presence made everyone else in the room seem smaller somehow. You came, he said. Something in his voice suggested he hadn't been entirely sure I would. You invited me. I did. But invitations can be declined. He gestured to the room.
Come.
Let me introduce you to some people. He guided me toward a group of 3 men near the windows. They stopped talking when we approached. Gentlemen, this is Claire Morrison. Claire, this is Thomas Brennan, District Attorney. Robert Chun, City Councilman. And Father Michael O'Brien, from St. Catherine's. I shook their hands. Their grips were all slightly different. Thomas's was aggressive and testing. Robert's was professional but distant. Father O'Brien's was warm and genuine. Claire is considering joining my security team, Vincent said. Thomas's eyebrows rose. Security? You look more suited to a ballet than a bodyguard detail. The condescension in his voice was thick enough to cut with a knife. But I dealt with men like him at Romano's. Men who thought women only existed for decoration. Appearances can be misleading, I said evenly. Indeed they can, Father O'Brien said, his eyes twinkling. I've found that underestimating people is the fastest way to end up surprised. Usually unpleasantly. Speaking from experience, Father? Robert asked. Always. The priest smiled at me. Tell me, Ms. Morrison, what brings you into Vincent's orbit? Circumstances, I said. Vincent's mouth twitched. Claire had an encounter with my former fiancé 2 nights ago. She handled it with remarkable composure. Former. Thomas leaned forward. What happened to Vanessa? We're no longer engaged, Vincent said simply. The relationship had run its course. I caught the looks exchanged between the 3 men.
Surprise.
Calculation. Something else I couldn't quite read. Well, Robert said carefully, I'm sure that was a mutual decision. It was necessary, Vincent replied. His tone made it clear the subject was closed. Eleanor appeared with wine. I took a glass to have something to do with my hands. The conversation shifted to politics and city business. I stayed quiet, watching and listening. Mike had taught me that you learned more by observing than talking. What I learned was troubling. These weren't just random wealthy people. They were the people who ran the city, the ones who made decisions behind closed doors. And Vincent was at the center of it all, his influence woven through every conversation like an invisible thread. Vincent, a woman's voice called from across the room. I turned to see someone who could have been Vanessa's twin. Same expensive hair, same designer dress, same air of entitlement. She approached with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Catherine, Vincent said. His voice was polite but cool. I didn't expect you tonight. Robert invited me. She glanced at the councilman, who suddenly found his wine very interesting. I heard about you and Vanessa.
Such a shame.
She was devastated, you know. I'm sure she'll recover, Vincent said. Catherine's eyes found me, dismissed me in an instant. And who is this? Claire Morrison, I said before Vincent could answer. Nice to meet you. Catherine looked me up and down. That's an interesting dress. Very understated. The insult was wrapped in politeness, but it was still an insult. I felt heat rise in my cheeks.
Thank you, I said.
I prefer simple. How refreshing. Catherine's smile was sharp. Vincent usually surrounds himself with people who prefer expensive. But I suppose there's something to be said for variety. Vincent's hand touched my lower back. Gentle. Grounding. If you'll excuse us, Catherine, he said. Dinner is about to be served. He guided me away before I could respond. His jaw was tight. I apologize for her, he said quietly. Catherine is Vanessa's cousin. She's loyal to family, even when family is wrong. She thinks I'm some kind of gold digger, I said. That I'm here because you have money. She thinks everyone is motivated by money because that's all she understands. Vincent stopped and turned to face me. But I know better. You're here because you're brave enough to see this world for what it is before making your decision. That takes courage most people don't have. Dinner was elaborate. 7 courses that appeared and disappeared like magic. I was seated next to Vincent at the head of the table, a position that drew more measuring looks from the other guests. The conversation flowed around me. Business deals disguised as friendly chat. Alliances being formed over wine and pasta. I picked at my food and watched Vincent navigate it all with practiced ease. He was in complete control, always 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Like Mike used to be, I thought. That same calculating intelligence. That same awareness of every piece on the board. Halfway through the main course, my phone buzzed in my purse. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Vincent noticed. You can check that if you need to. I pulled out my phone under the table. 7 texts, all from unknown numbers. But the content was the same. Thief. Gold digger. You think you're special, but you're not. He'll get bored of you like he got bored of Vanessa. Watch your back. My hands tightened on the phone. Vincent saw my expression change. What is it? He asked quietly. I showed him the messages. His face went cold. Dangerous cold. The kind of cold that made me understand why people feared him. Excuse me, he said to the table. Then to me, come with me. We left the dining room and entered a study. Dark wood, leather chairs, books lining every wall. Vincent closed the door and took my phone. These numbers, he said, scrolling through the messages. They're all burner phones. Untraceable. But the pattern is coordinated. Someone is running a harassment campaign. Vanessa, I said.
Probably.
Or Catherine acting on her behalf. Vincent's jaw tightened. This is unacceptable. I told her to leave you alone. It's just texts, I said. I can handle texts. It's not just texts. It's intimidation. It's an attempt to make you feel unsafe. Vincent set my phone down and looked at me directly. This is what I was warning you about. This is what being in my world means. There are people who will see you as a target simply because you're near me. So, what do you suggest? Move in here. The words hung in the air between us.
I stared at him. What?
Move in here, Vincent repeated. Temporarily. Until this situation is resolved. I have guest rooms. You'll have privacy. But you'll also have security. Protection. Vanessa and Catherine can't reach you here. That's insane, I said. I barely know you. You know enough. Vincent moved closer. Not threatening, but intense. Claire, listen to me. These women have resources and connections and absolutely no conscience. They will escalate. Today it's texts. Tomorrow it might be something worse. Your apartment isn't secure. Romano's isn't secure. But this place is. I can take care of myself. I know you can. I saw you take down Marco and Tony. But you can't fight an enemy you can't see. You can't anticipate every move they'll make. And you shouldn't have to live looking over your shoulder. His voice softened slightly. Mike trained you to survive. But survival isn't the same as living. The use of Mike's name hit me harder than it should have. Because Vincent was right. I'd been surviving for 3 years. Going through motions. Existing but not living. How long would this be for?
I asked.
As long as necessary.
A week.
Maybe 2. Just until I can convince Vanessa and her cousin that you're under my protection, and harassing you has consequences. I looked around the study. At the expensive books and comfortable chairs, and the window overlooking gardens I couldn't see in the dark. This was a different world. A world of money and power and danger wrapped in elegance. But it was also safety. Real safety, not the illusion I'd been maintaining in my tiny apartment. I need to think about it, I said. My phone buzzed again. More texts. More threats. More poison disguised as words. Vincent picked up my phone and deleted every message. Then he did something to the settings I didn't quite see. I've blocked all unknown numbers, he said. They can't reach you this way anymore. But they'll find other ways. They always do. Someone knocked on the study door. Eleanor appeared. Mr. Calabrese, there's a situation in the kitchen. Chef Marco is asking for you. Vincent's expression didn't change, but I saw frustration flash in his eyes. I need to handle this, he said to me. Take your time. Look around if you want. Eleanor can show you the guest rooms. No pressure, Claire. But think about what I said. He left. I stood alone in the study, my phone silent in my hand, my mind racing. This was the moment. The point where I either stepped into this world completely or walked away forever. I thought about my apartment, about waking up alone every morning, about going to Romano's and serving people who barely saw me, about 3 years of gray numbness punctuated only by grief. Then I thought about the last 2 days, about feeling alive for the first time since Mike died, about Vincent looking at me like I was someone worth knowing, not just someone to serve him coffee. About being scared and excited and uncertain all at once. Eleanor appeared in the doorway. Would you like to see the guest accommodations, Ms. Morrison? I should have said no. Should have called for my car and driven back to my safe, small life. Instead, I heard myself say, yes. Please show me. She led me upstairs to a suite of rooms that were bigger than my entire apartment.
Bedroom.
Sitting room. Bathroom with marble and gold fixtures. A closet that could fit my entire wardrobe 3 times over. This would be yours if you decided to stay, Eleanor said. Mr. Calabrese believes in ensuring his guests are comfortable. It's beautiful, I said. And it was. But it also felt like a trap. A gilded cage disguised as hospitality. Take your time deciding, Eleanor said. But Ms. Morrison? A word of advice from someone who's worked for Mr. Calabrese for 15 years? Yes. He doesn't make offers lightly. If he's asking you to stay here, it's because he genuinely believes you're in danger. He has many faults, but he doesn't lie about threats. Not when it comes to people he cares about protecting. People he cares about protecting. The words echoed in my head after Eleanor left. I walked to the window and looked out over the grounds. Security lights illuminated pathways and gardens. In the distance, I could see the walls and gates that kept the rest of the world out. Or kept people in, depending on how you looked at it. My phone buzzed. A new text from a number that shouldn't have been able to reach me. You can't hide forever. My blood ran cold. They'd gotten around Vincent's blocks somehow. Found another way to reach me. I looked at the luxurious room around me. At the safety Vincent was offering. At the choice I was being forced to make. Then I looked at my phone again. At the threat glowing on the screen. And I made my decision. I found Vincent in the kitchen, talking quietly with an older man in chef's whites. They stopped when I entered. Claire? Vincent's expression was concerned. What's wrong? I held up my phone, showing him the new message. His face went dark. They're persistent. They're threatening me, I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. And I'm tired of being threatened.
So yes.
I'll stay here, temporarily, until this is resolved. Vincent studied my face for a long moment. Then he nodded once. You're making the right choice, he said. I hope so, I replied. Because standing there in that kitchen, surrounded by wealth and danger, and a man I barely knew but somehow understood, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just accepting protection. I wasn't just making a practical decision about safety. I was stepping into Vincent Calabrese's world completely. And there might not be any way back out. What I didn't know yet, what nobody had told me, was that Vanessa's harassment campaign wasn't random. It was bait. And I had just done exactly what she wanted me to do. I moved into Vincent's mansion the next morning with 2 suitcases and a growing sense that I'd made a terrible mistake. Eleanor met me at the door with efficiency that suggested she'd done this before. She showed me where everything was. The kitchen I could use anytime. The library where I could read. The gym in the basement that made me stop and stare because it had equipment I'd only seen in professional training facilities. Mr. Calabrese thought you might appreciate the space, Eleanor said. He mentioned you have combat training. He's observant. He's many things, Eleanor replied. Observant is one of them. She left me to unpack. The suite felt even bigger in daylight. Too big. Too empty. I hung my few clothes in the massive closet, and they looked lost, like refugees in a palace.
My phone rang.
Bill from Romano's. Claire, I need to talk to you about something, he said.
His voice was strained.
Can you come in today? I have the day off. You told me to take time. I know, but this is important.
Please.
Just for an hour. Something in his tone made my stomach drop. What's going on? Not over the phone. Just come in. He hung up before I could argue. I found Vincent in his study, reading through documents with the same intensity other people brought to life-or-death situations. He looked up when I knocked.
Claire.
Is everything all right with your room? The room is fine. I need to go to Romano's. My manager called. He sounded upset. Vincent's expression shifted. I'll have Marco drive you. I can drive myself. I'm sure you can. But Marco will drive you anyway. His tone was gentle but firm. Humor me. Until we know what Vanessa's planning, I'd prefer you didn't go anywhere alone. I wanted to argue, but the texts from last night were still burned into my memory. Fine, I said, but he stays in the car. Agreed. Marco was waiting by a black sedan when I came downstairs. He looked at me with something that might have been respect, mixed with wariness. I'd put him on the floor 2 nights ago. He hadn't forgotten. The drive to Romano's took 20 minutes. Marco didn't speak except to confirm the address. When we pulled up, I saw Bill pacing outside the entrance. His face was pale. Wait here, I told Marco. Ms. Morrison, Mr. Calabrese said. Wait here, I repeated. I got out and walked toward Bill. He looked like he hadn't slept. Thank you for coming, he said. We need to talk inside. The restaurant was empty. Too early for lunch. Bill led me to his office in the back and closed the door. Then he pulled out his phone and showed me a video. It was security footage from 2 nights ago. The angle showed me and Vanessa. Showed her slapping me. Showed me slapping her back. Showed me taking down Marco and Tony. Where did you get this?
I asked.
Someone sent it to me this morning, along with a letter from a lawyer. Bill's hands shook slightly. Claire, they're threatening to sue the restaurant. They're claiming you assaulted a customer without provocation. They say the video has been edited to remove the part where you attacked first. Ice flooded my veins. That's not what happened. I know that. I was there. But they have lawyers and money, and they're threatening to destroy this place if I don't fire you and provide a statement saying you're violent and unstable. I stared at him. You can't be serious. Claire, I have 3 kids. I have a mortgage. This restaurant is everything I have. Bill's voice cracked. I don't want to do this. But they're giving me no choice. Either I fire you and cooperate with their lawsuit, or they'll sue us into bankruptcy. This is Vanessa, I said. She's lying. You know she's lying. It doesn't matter what I know. It matters what I can prove. And they have lawyers who can make the truth look however they want it to look. Bill wouldn't meet my eyes.
I'm sorry.
I have to let you go. Effective immediately. The words hit me like a physical blow. Bill, please. I need this job. I know. And I'm sorry. I'll give you 2 weeks severance. It's all I can do. 2 weeks severance for 3 years of work. Claire. They're destroying my life because I stood up to her. Because I wouldn't apologize for something I didn't do.
My voice was rising.
And you're helping them. I'm protecting my family, Bill shot back. What would you do in my position? Let your business get destroyed to protect one employee? I didn't have an answer for that. Because he was right. He had kids. He had everything to lose. And Vanessa knew it. She'd found the pressure point and pushed until he broke. I need you to sign this, Bill said, sliding a paper across his desk. It's a termination agreement. You agree not to sue for wrongful termination, and I give you the severance. I looked at the paper, at the lies typed neatly in legal language, at the signature line waiting for my name. And if I don't sign, then I can't give you the severance, and you'll still be fired. I picked up the pen. My hand shook with rage and humiliation.
But I signed.
Because 2 weeks of pay was better than nothing. Because fighting would cost money I didn't have for lawyers I couldn't afford. I walked out of Romano's for the last time. 3 years of early mornings and late nights and aching feet. Gone in 10 minutes because a rich woman wanted revenge. Marco was waiting by the car. He took one look at my face and opened the door without speaking. The drive back to Vincent's was silent. I stared out the window and tried not to cry. When we pulled up to the mansion, Vincent was standing at the entrance. He must have been watching for me. He took one look at my expression and his face hardened. What happened? I was fired, I said. My voice sounded hollow. Vanessa sent security footage to my manager. Threatened to sue the restaurant unless he fired me and signed a statement saying I'm violent. That footage is real. It shows what actually happened. It doesn't matter. She has lawyers who'll twist it. Bill has kids and a mortgage. He couldn't risk it. I looked at Vincent. She's not just harassing me. She's systematically destroying everything I have.
My job.
My reputation. What's next? My apartment. Vincent's expression was dangerous. The kind of dangerous that made me remember who he really was. This ends now, he said quietly.
How?
You can't just make her stop. She has lawyers and money and I have more of both. Vincent pulled out his phone. Eleanor, get me Thomas Brennan. Tell him it's urgent. And get Robertson on the line after that. He looked at me while he waited. I'm going to fix this. But you need to trust me.
Can you do that?
I thought about Bill's scared face. About 3 years of work erased in minutes. About Vanessa's smug smile and Catherine's dismissive eyes. Yes, I said. I can trust you. Vincent's phone buzzed. He answered immediately. Thomas, I need a favor. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Vanessa Hartwell is harassing someone under my protection. She sent edited security footage to an employer and threatened a lawsuit. I need you to make this go away. I couldn't hear Thomas's response, but Vincent's expression didn't change. I don't care what you have to do. Make it go away. Today. He paused. Because if you don't, I'll remember this the next time you need something from me. And we both know how often you need things from me. He hung up, made another call, this one to Robert. I need you to have a conversation with Romano's owner, Bill Henderson. Someone has been threatening him. I wanted to assure him that he has the full support of the city council if he chooses to resist those threats. Another pause. Yes, I'm aware this is unusual. Consider it a personal favor, one I'll remember. He made 3 more calls, each one short and direct, each one pulling strings I didn't fully understand. When he finished, he looked at me. You'll have your job back by end of day, he said. The lawsuit will disappear, and Vanessa will receive a very clear message about what happens when she targets you. How can you be sure? Because Thomas Brennan has been taking bribes for 5 years, and I have documentation of every single one. Because Robert Chen's campaign was funded by shell companies I control. Because the people in this city owe me favors, and I'm calling them in. The casual way he said it was almost more frightening than the words themselves. This was his world. This was how he operated. Power and leverage and knowing exactly which buttons to push. Thank you, I said quietly. Don't thank me yet. Vincent's expression was grim. Fixing this was easy. But Vanessa won't stop. She'll escalate. And next time it might not be something I can fix with a few phone calls. So what do? We go on the offensive. Vincent gestured toward the house. Come with me. There's something you need to see. He led me to a room I hadn't been in before. A security center with monitors showing every angle of the property. A man I didn't recognize sat at the console. This is Davis, Vincent said. He handles my security operations. Davis, show Claire what we found. Davis pulled up footage on the center screen.
It showed my apartment building.
The angle was from across the street. And in the footage, I watched someone pick the lock on my front door and enter. My blood ran cold. When was this? This morning, while you were at Romano's. Vincent's voice was tight. They were in your apartment for 11 minutes. We don't know what they did yet. We need to call the police. And tell them what? That someone broke into your apartment, but didn't steal anything. Vincent shook his head. They planted something, Claire. Listening devices. Cameras. Maybe both. If we call the police, they'll find nothing, and we'll have tipped our hand. So what do? We let them think they've won. We let them listen and watch. And we feed them exactly what we want them to hear. Vincent turned to face me fully. But you can't go back there. Not until we know what we're dealing with. My things. Davis will retrieve anything you need. But that apartment isn't safe anymore. They've made sure of that. I felt the walls closing in. My job threatened. My home violated. My privacy shattered. All because I dared to defend myself against a woman who thought she owned the world. Why is she doing this?
I asked.
What does she want? Revenge.
Control.
To prove that nobody crosses her without consequences. Vincent's jaw tightened. But there's something else. Something I haven't told you yet. What? Vanessa didn't just threaten Romano's. She also filed a police report claiming you stalked her and threatened her life. It's complete fiction, but she has 2 witnesses who'll testify they heard you make threats. The room spun slightly. That's insane. I know. But mud sticks, Claire. Even when it's based on lies. She's building a narrative. First the assault at the restaurant. Then the stalking. Then whatever comes next. She's making you look unstable and dangerous. So what? I just accept this? Let her destroy me?
No.
Vincent's voice was cold. We destroy her first. But we do it carefully. Methodically. The way you take down an enemy who has resources and connections. He pulled out his phone and showed me a file. Photos. Documents. Financial records. Vanessa has been embezzling from her family's charity foundation for 2 years, Vincent said. Small amounts. Nothing anyone would notice individually. But it adds up to over $300,000. I've had investigators looking into her background for months. Months? Why? Because I knew she was dangerous. I just didn't know how dangerous until recently. Vincent's expression was complicated. Regret and anger mixed together. I should have ended our relationship sooner. I should have seen what she really was. But I was focused on other things and I missed the signs until it was too late. You were going to marry her. I was going to use her family's political connections. She was going to use my money and influence. It was a business arrangement dressed up as a relationship. He looked at me directly. There was never any love there, Claire. Not on either side. Something about the way he said my name made my pulse quicken. Not fear. Something else. So, what do we do with this information? I asked.
We hold it for now.
Use it when the moment is right. Vincent closed the file. But we need more. We need to know her next move before she makes it. We need to be 3 steps ahead.
How?
Vincent smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a man who'd spent his life winning battles other people didn't know were being fought. We give her what she wants, he said. We make her think she's winning. And when she gets confident enough to make a mistake, we strike. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number that had somehow gotten through Vincent's blocks again. He can't protect you forever. And when he gets bored, you'll have nothing. I showed it to Vincent. His expression went cold. Davis, he said. I want to know where these texts are coming from. I want names and locations. And I want it within the hour. Yes, sir. Vincent turned back to me. Go rest. You've had a difficult morning. We'll talk strategy tonight over dinner. I'm not hungry. Neither am I. But we'll eat anyway because that's what people do when they're planning a war. I started to leave, then stopped. Vincent? Why are you doing all this?
I'm nobody.
Just a waitress who got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than I'd heard it. You're not nobody, Claire. You're someone who fought back when anyone else would have stayed down. You're someone who put my men on the floor in seconds. You're someone who refused my money because you couldn't be bought. He paused. And you're someone Mike Morrison loved enough to teach everything he knew about survival. That makes you someone worth protecting. The mention of Mike's name hit me in the chest. Hard and unexpected. You didn't know him, I said.
No.
But I know what it takes to train someone the way he trained you. It takes time and patience and love. Vincent's eyes were dark and serious. Men like him don't invest that kind of effort in people they don't believe in, which means he saw something in you worth protecting. And I see it too. He left before I could respond. I stood in the security room, watching monitors show every angle of the property, and tried to process everything that had happened in the last 2 hours. I'd lost my job. My home had been violated. I was being stalked and threatened and framed. And the only person standing between me and complete destruction was a man I'd met 3 days ago. A man everyone whispered about. A man whose world operated on rules I was only beginning to understand. But he'd also defended me.
Protected me.
Seen me as someone worth knowing instead of just another person to be used and discarded. Davis's voice broke into my thoughts. Ms. Morrison? Mr. Calabrese asked me to retrieve items from your apartment. If you could make a list of what you need. I made the list.
Clothes.
Toiletries. A photo album with pictures of Mike. My wedding ring that I kept in a jewelry box because wearing it hurt too much. Davis left. I went back to my suite and sat on the edge of the bed that was too soft, and in a room that was too big, and in a life that had spiraled completely out of control. My phone buzzed again. But this time it was Bill.
Claire.
I don't know what you did or who you called, but I just got a visit from the city councilman. The lawsuit is gone. The threats are gone. And I'd like you to come back to work.
He paused. I'm sorry.
I should have fought harder for you. It's okay, I said. Because what else could I say? He'd protected his family. I couldn't fault him for that. When can you start again? I looked around the luxurious room. At the safety Vincent had provided. At the life I was stepping into whether I wanted to or not. I need a few more days, I said. Personal reasons. Take all the time you need. Your job will be here when you're ready. I hung up and stared at my phone. Vincent had fixed it, just like he said he would. With a few calls and the right pressure in the right places. This was his power. Not violence or threats. Just knowing exactly which strings to pull to make the world bend the way he wanted it to. And now I was one of those strings.
The thought should have terrified me.
Should have sent me running back to my violated apartment and my uncertain future. But instead, I felt something else. I felt like maybe for the first time since Mike died, I wasn't fighting alone. And what I didn't know yet, what I wouldn't understand until it was too late, was that Vanessa had planned for this too. Every move Vincent made, every protection he offered, every string he pulled on my behalf was exactly what she'd wanted him to do. Because the closer he pulled me into his world, the better her plan would work. And that plan was far worse than anything I could have imagined. 3 days passed in Vincent's mansion like living in a dream I couldn't quite wake up from. Beautiful rooms. Quiet halls. Eleanor bringing me meals I barely touched. Marco driving me anywhere I needed to go, which was nowhere, because I had nowhere left to go. My apartment was compromised. My job was waiting, but felt like a trap. And every time I tried to leave the property, Vincent convinced me to stay one more day. Just until they figured out Vanessa's next move. I was going crazy with the waiting. On the 4th morning, I found Vincent in the gym. He was sparring with someone I hadn't seen before.
Tall.
Muscular. Moving with the kind of precision that said military training. Vincent matched him blow for blow, and I realized something I hadn't fully understood before. Vincent Calabrese wasn't just dangerous because of his connections. He was dangerous because he could back up every threat with his own 2 hands. They finished their session. Vincent grabbed a towel and noticed me watching.
Claire.
You're up early. I couldn't sleep. Neither could I. He dismissed his sparring partner with a nod. Want to work out some of that restlessness? I'm not really in the mood. That's when you need it most. Mike would have told you the same thing. He was right. Mike used to drag me to the basement gym when grief paralyzed me after bad days. Movement helped. Action helped. Sitting still just made everything worse. Fine, I said. But go easy on me. I'm out of practice. Vincent smiled. I'll try. We started with basics. Footwork. Defense. Simple combinations. But within minutes, muscle memory took over, and I stopped thinking. Just moved. Mike's training flowing through me like water, finding its course. Vincent increased the intensity. I matched him. He threw a combination that should have caught me off guard. I slipped it and countered with a strike that stopped an inch from his throat. We both froze. Mike taught you that, Vincent said quietly. Yes. It's perfect. Efficient. No wasted movement. He stepped back. You're better than you think you are, Claire.
I'm rusty.
Rust comes off with practice. Vincent picked up 2 water bottles and handed me one. How are you really doing? With everything. I wanted to lie.
To say I was fine.
But something about the way he looked at me, like he actually cared about the answer, made me tell the truth. I feel trapped, I said. I know you're protecting me. I know I'm safer here. But I also feel like I'm hiding while she wins. She's not winning. She took my job. She violated my home. She's making me look like a criminal. How is that not winning? Vincent was quiet for a moment. Then he said something I didn't expect. Come with me tonight. I have a meeting. Nothing dangerous. Just business. But I think you need to see what I actually do. Who I actually am. Why? Because you're making decisions based on incomplete information. And Mike taught you better than that. He had a point. I'd been living in Vincent's world for 4 days, but I hadn't actually seen any of it. Just the mansion and the protection and the careful distance everyone maintained. What kind of meeting? I asked. The kind where people bring me problems and I solve them.
Come. Watch.
Make your own judgments. Something in his tone made me curious. Like he was daring me to see something everyone else missed. Okay, I said. I'll come. That evening, Vincent and I drove into the city. Not to some dark warehouse or abandoned building like movies suggested. To a restaurant. Upscale.
Busy.
The kind of place where business deals happened over wine and expensive steaks. We sat at a corner table. Vincent's back to the wall, his eyes on the room. Always watching. Always aware. Who are we meeting? I asked. A man named Joseph Ricci. He owns a construction company. He's having labor problems, and he needs help resolving them. What kind of help? The kind where both sides feel heard and a fair agreement gets reached. Vincent's expression was calm. That's what I actually do, Claire. Most of the time, anyway. I'm not the monster people whisper about. I'm the person who makes difficult situations manageable. Joseph arrived 20 minutes later.
50-something.
Tired eyes. Expensive suit that couldn't hide the weight on his shoulders. Vincent stood and shook his hand. Joseph, thank you for coming. This is Claire Morrison. She's working with me now. Joseph nodded at me politely. We sat. He ordered bourbon and drank half of it before speaking. My workers are threatening to strike, he said. Unions pushing for wages I can't afford. If they strike, I lose the Lincoln Tower contract. If I lose that contract, I'm finished. What are they asking for? Vincent asked. 30% increase. Better benefits. Pension contributions I can't make without bankrupting the company. And what can you afford? 15%. Maybe 20 if I cut elsewhere. But 30?
Impossible.
Vincent listened. Asked questions. Made notes on his phone. He wasn't threatening or intimidating. He was just listening. Really listening. Like Joseph's problem mattered. Give me 2 days, Vincent said finally. I'll talk to the union rep. We'll find middle ground. The rep won't listen to me. We're past talking. He'll listen to me. Vincent's voice was quiet but certain. Because I'll make him understand that destroying your company helps nobody. Not the workers. Not the union. Not this city. Joseph looked at Vincent like he was seeing a lifeline in stormy water.
Thank you, he said.
I don't know what I'd do without.
His phone rang.
He glanced at it and his face went pale. I need to take this. He walked away from the table, his voice rising in panic. Vincent watched him go. His expression hadn't changed, but I saw something in his eyes.
Concern, maybe.
What's wrong? I asked. I don't know yet, but something just changed. Joseph came back to the table. His hands were shaking. There's been an accident at the Lincoln Tower site. Scaffolding collapsed. 3 workers injured. 1 critical. His voice cracked. The safety inspector was supposed to check that scaffolding yesterday.
He signed off on it.
Now people are hurt, and I'm going to be sued into oblivion. Was the scaffolding faulty? Vincent asked. I don't know. Everything was supposed to be up to code. I paid for the inspections. I followed every regulation. Joseph put his head in his hands. This is going to destroy me. Vincent pulled out his phone. Made a call. I need information on an accident at Lincoln Tower.
Construction site.
Scaffolding collapse. He listened. Find out who the inspector was and get me his reports. All of them. And find out if there was any recent maintenance on that scaffolding. I want answers in an hour. He hung up and looked at Joseph. Go to the hospital. Be with your workers. Show them you care. I'll handle the investigation. Vincent, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Vincent's voice was firm.
Go. Take care of your people.
Let me take care of this. Joseph left. Vincent and I sat in silence for a moment. You think the scaffolding was sabotaged? I said. I think the timing is suspicious. Union threatening to strike. Accident happens right before a crucial deadline. Workers get hurt, and suddenly Joseph loses everything. Vincent's jaw tightened. Someone wanted this to happen. Who? That's what I'm going to find out. We left the restaurant. Marco was waiting with the car. Vincent gave him an address I didn't recognize, and we drove to a building in an industrial area. Concrete and steel. No signs. No indication what it was. Wait here, Vincent told me.
No.
I opened my door. You brought me to see your world. Let me actually see it. He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. Inside, the building was mostly empty except for one office at the far end. Light spilled from under the door. Vincent knocked once and entered without waiting for an answer. A man sat at a desk.
Thin.
Nervous. He jumped when he saw Vincent. Mr. Calabrese. I wasn't expecting. Tell me about the inspection you did at Lincoln Tower yesterday, Vincent said quietly. The man's face went white. It was routine. Everything passed code. I filed my report. You filed a false report. Vincent's voice was calm.
Too calm.
The scaffolding that collapsed today was faulty. You signed off on it anyway.
Why?
I don't know what you're talking about. Vincent pulled out his phone and showed the man something I couldn't see. Whatever it was made the man's hands start shaking. That's you accepting a payment from a shell company 2 days ago, Vincent said.
15,000 dollars.
Who paid you to falsify that inspection? The man looked like he might be sick. I can't, they'll kill me if I talk. And I'll make sure you never work in this city again, if you don't. Vincent leaned forward. But more than that, 3 men are in the hospital because you took money to ignore safety violations. One of them might die. You're going to carry that for the rest of your life. So tell me who paid you and maybe, I'll help you sleep at night. The man broke. Started talking. Names and numbers and a company I didn't recognize. Vincent recorded everything on his phone. When we left, I felt sick. That man took money to let workers get hurt, I said. Yes. And you're going to use what he told you to fix it. Yes.
How?
Vincent looked at me. By making sure the people responsible face consequences. By getting Joseph's company cleared of wrongdoing. By ensuring those workers get compensation. By doing what the system should do, but often doesn't. We got back in the car. Vincent made more calls. Gave instructions I only half understood. Set things in motion that would ripple out in ways I couldn't predict. This is what you do, I said. You fix things that are broken. I try to. Doesn't always work, but I try.
And Vanessa?
Can you fix what she's doing to me? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression changed. Something I couldn't read. I need to take this, he said. He answered. Yes. I watched his face as he listened. Watched it go from concerned to angry to something worse. Something cold and dangerous. When he asked, Then, are you certain? And finally, I understand. Thank you for telling me. He hung up, stared at his phone. When he looked at me, I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen before.
Fear.
What happened? I asked. That was my lawyer. Vanessa just filed a restraining order against you. She's claiming you've been stalking her, threatening her, making her fear for her safety. My stomach dropped. That's insane. I've been in your house for 4 days. I haven't been anywhere near her. She has photos, timestamps, screenshots of texts you allegedly sent. Vincent's voice was tight. She's built a complete narrative, and she's gotten a judge to sign the order. But none of that is real. I never. It doesn't matter if it's real. It matters that a judge believed it was real enough to issue the order. Vincent ran his hand through his hair. Which means if you go within 500 feet of her, you'll be arrested. And if you're arrested, everything else she's built, all the lies about assault and stalking, they all look more credible. So, what do? We fight it. We prove the photos are doctored, the texts are fake, the whole thing is manufactured. Vincent's jaw was tight. But Claire, you need to understand something. Restraining orders are public record. Everyone will know about this. Your name will be associated with stalking and harassment. Even when we prove it's false, the stain remains. I felt the walls closing in again. Tighter this time. Suffocating. She's destroying me piece by piece, I whispered. And I can't stop her. Vincent reached across the car and took my hand. His grip was warm and steady.
We'll stop her, he said. Together.
I promise you that. But his eyes told a different story. They told me he was worried. That this was worse than he'd expected. That Vanessa was 3 steps ahead, and we were running to catch up. We drove back to the mansion in silence. My mind spun with everything that had happened. The meeting with Joseph. The corrupt inspector. The restraining order that would follow me forever. Eleanor met us at the door. Her face was pale. Mr. Calabrese. There's been a development. What kind of development? Ms. Hartwell is here. She's in the sitting room. She says she won't leave until she speaks with Ms. Morrison. My blood went cold. She's here?
Now.
I told her to leave, Eleanor said quickly. But she says if you don't speak with her, she'll call the police and claim you violated the restraining order. The restraining order isn't active yet, Vincent said. She says it is. She has paperwork. Vincent's expression went dark. Call my lawyer.
Now.
Tell him to get here immediately.
He looked at me.
You don't have to do this. You don't have to see her. But something in me snapped. 4 days of hiding. 4 days of waiting. 4 days of letting Vanessa control my life, while I sat in a mansion and did nothing. I want to see her, I said. I want to hear what she has to say. Claire. I want to see her. Vincent studied my face, then nodded once. I'll be right beside you. If anything goes wrong, we walk away. Understood. Understood. We walked to the sitting room together. Vanessa sat on a cream-colored couch like she owned it. She looked perfect. Hair styled. Makeup flawless. Dress that probably cost more than my car.
She smiled when she saw me. Claire.
Thank you for agreeing to see me. What do you want? My voice was steady despite the rage burning in my chest. I want to offer you a deal. Vanessa crossed her legs. I'll drop the restraining order. I'll drop all the accusations. I'll make sure your name is cleared of everything. In exchange for what? In exchange for you leaving. Tonight.
Permanently.
Out of Vincent's house. Out of his life. Out of the city, if you're smart.
Is zegt de Heer.
Why do you care? You broke up with him. You're not together anymore. Because Vincent needs someone better than you. Vanessa's smile was sharp. Someone from his world. Someone who understands how things work. Not some grieving widow who thinks a few self-defense moves make her special. The mention of Mike made my hands curl into fists. Careful, Vincent said quietly. His voice was dangerous. But Vanessa ignored him. She kept her eyes on me. You don't belong here, Claire. You're playing dress-up in a world you don't understand. And eventually Vincent will realize that. He'll realize you're just a project. A charity case. Someone to feel noble about protecting. She leaned forward. But I can save you the humiliation. Take my deal. Leave now. Start over somewhere else. And I'll make sure your reputation stays intact. And if I don't, then I'll destroy you completely. The restraining order is just the beginning. I have resources you can't imagine. Connections you can't fight. I will make sure you're unhireable, unrentable, unwanted. I will make sure everyone in this city knows you as the unstable woman who attacked me and stalked me and threatened me. Vanessa's voice was calm. Matter of fact. You'll have nothing. Be nothing. And Vincent won't be able to save you because even he has limits to his influence. The room was silent. I felt Vincent's presence beside me.
Solid.
Steady. But even he was tense. Because Vanessa was right about one thing. She had resources. She had connections. And she was absolutely willing to use them to destroy me. I need time to think about it, I heard myself say. Vanessa smiled. You have 24 hours. After that, the restraining order goes active and everything I've built against you becomes public record. Choose wisely, Claire. She stood, smoothed her dress, walked toward the door. Then she paused and looked back at Vincent. You could have had everything with me, she said softly.
Money. Power.
The right connections. Instead, you're throwing it away on someone who'll never understand you. Never truly be your equal. It's sad, really. Then she was gone. The front door closed behind her with a soft click. I stood there, shaking with rage and fear and something I couldn't name. She's right, I whispered. I don't belong here. I don't understand your world. I'm just making everything worse. Claire. Everything she said is true. I'm a project. Someone you feel obligated to protect because I stood up to her once. But this isn't protection. This is a war, and I'm not equipped for it. Vincent turned me to face him, his hands on my shoulders, his eyes intense. Listen to me very carefully, he said. Vanessa is a liar and a manipulator. She wants you to believe you're weak, so you'll run. But you're not weak. You took down 2 of my men in seconds. You've faced grief that would break most people. You've survived 3 years alone and built a life from nothing. That's not weakness. That's strength. Then why does it feel like I'm losing? Because right now you are losing. But the fight isn't over. Vincent's voice was fierce. And I'm not going to let her win. Not while I'm still breathing. Something in his voice made me look at him. Really look at him. And I saw something I hadn't noticed before. This wasn't just about protection. This wasn't just about obligation. This was personal for him. Deeply personal. Why do you care so much? I asked quietly. Vincent was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. Because Vanessa is wrong about you. And I need her to be wrong. I need to believe that someone can be strong without being cruel. That someone can survive without becoming a monster. That there's still such a thing as genuine courage in this world.
He paused.
You remind me that there is. And I'm not ready to lose that reminder. The air between us felt charged, heavy with something unspoken. I was suddenly very aware of how close we were standing, how his hands still rested on my shoulders, how his eyes were searching my face like he was memorizing every detail. I don't know what to do, I whispered. Then trust me to know. Just for a little while longer.
Can you do that? I thought about Mike,
about what he would tell me to do. And I realized he'd tell me the same thing Vincent was saying. That running wasn't surviving. That true strength meant standing even when everything in you wanted to fall. Yes, I said. I can do that. Vincent's expression softened.
Good.
Because tomorrow we end this. Once and for all.
How?
By giving Vanessa exactly what she wants. And making her regret it. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face went hard. What is it? I asked. Davis just sent a report. The listening devices in your apartment? They weren't just Vanessa's. There were 2 sets. 2 different systems. Vincent's voice was tight. Someone else has been listening too. Someone with better equipment and more sophisticated methods. Ice flooded my veins.
Who?
I don't know yet. But whoever they are, they're professional. Government-level professional. Vincent looked at me. Claire, who was Mike working for when he died. What agency? Secret Service. Why? And his death. You said he died in action. Do you know any details? Just that he was protecting someone, and there was an attack. They never told me more than that. Said it was classified. My voice felt far away. Vincent, what are you thinking? I'm thinking Mike's death might not have been as straightforward as you were told. I'm thinking someone might have been watching you for a long time. And I'm thinking we're caught in something much bigger than Vanessa's revenge. He pulled out his phone and made a call. I need background on Michael Morrison. Secret Service agent. Died 3 years ago. I want to know everything. Mission details. Who he was protecting. Why he was killed. And I want to know if anyone has been monitoring his widow. He hung up and looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Whatever happens next, he said quietly, promise me you won't face it alone. I promise. But even as I said it, I felt the ground shifting beneath me. Because this wasn't just about Vanessa anymore. This was about Mike. About secrets I didn't know existed. About surveillance and lies and a past I thought I understood but clearly didn't. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a terrible thought was forming. What if Mike's death wasn't random? What if someone had been watching me all along? And what if Vanessa's attacks were never about revenge at all, but about forcing me into exactly this position? Protected. Isolated. Dependent on Vincent Calabrese. The perfect trap disguised as salvation. Vincent's lawyer arrived within the hour. James Chun. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. He looked at the restraining order paperwork Vanessa had left, and his expression grew darker with each page. This is airtight, he said finally. Every I dotted. Every T crossed. Whoever prepared this knew exactly what they were doing. Can we fight it? Vincent asked. We can, but it'll take time. Weeks, maybe months. And in the meantime, the order stands. James looked at me. Ms. Morrison, you need to understand something. If you're seen anywhere near Vanessa Hartwell, you'll be arrested.
No warningness.
No second chances. She's built a legal cage around you, and one wrong step puts you inside it. I felt the walls closing in tighter. So, I just hide here forever?
No.
You hide here until we can prove her accusations are false, which requires evidence we don't currently have. James set the paperwork down. Vincent, I need to speak with you privately. They left the room. I sat alone in the sitting room where Vanessa had delivered her ultimatum. The cream-colored couch still held the impression where she'd sat, like even her absence was a presence. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Despite Vincent's blocks, despite everything, they kept getting through. 24 hours.
Clock's ticking.
Choose wisely. I deleted it. But 3 more came immediately. Same message. Different numbers.
They were multiplying.
Overwhelming. Eleanor appeared in the doorway. Ms. Morrison, can I get you anything? Answers, I said. But I don't think you have those.
No.
But I have tea and sympathy, if that helps. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Tea would be nice. Thank you. She brought a pot of chamomile and sat across from me. Not asking permission. Just sitting like my presence mattered enough to warrant her time. How long have you worked for Vincent? I asked. 15 years. Since his sister died. He told me about her. Maria. She was a good person.
Kind.
The type who saw the best in everyone. Eleanor poured tea for both of us. Her death changed him. Made him harder in some ways, but also more protective of the people he cares about. He barely knows me. He knows enough. Eleanor's eyes were knowing. Mr. Calabrese doesn't invest in people lightly. If he's protecting you this fiercely, it's because he sees something worth protecting. Or because he feels guilty about Vanessa. Perhaps. But I've watched him with many people over the years. Business associates. Friends. Even his fiancée. She paused. He's never looked at any of them the way he looks at you. The words hung in the air. I didn't know what to say to that. Vincent returned before I could figure it out. His expression was grim. James is filing emergency motions, trying to get the restraining order suspended pending investigation. He sat down heavily. But there's something else. Something worse. What could possibly be worse? The federal agents who've been monitoring your apartment? They're not just watching you.
They're investigating me.
Have been for 6 months. Vincent's jaw was tight, and the timing of their surveillance on you suggests they think you're involved somehow. Involved in what? Money laundering. Racketeering. The standard accusations they throw at people like me when they want to build a case. Vincent looked at me directly. But here's the problem. If they think you're involved with me, if they think you're part of my organization, they'll use that against both of us. Your connection to me becomes evidence of criminal association. But I'm not part of your organization. I barely know you. They don't care. They see you living in my house. They see me protecting you. They see the phone calls and meetings, and all of it looks like exactly what they want it to look like. Vincent's voice was tired. Which means Vanessa didn't just trap you with that restraining order. She made you radioactive. Anyone associated with you becomes a target. The tea in my cup had gone cold. I set it down with shaking hands. So, I really am destroying your life just by being here.
No.
But your presence complicates things. Vincent leaned forward. Claire, I need to ask you something.
About Mike.
About his work. Did he ever mention anyone watching you? Anyone unusual approaching you? Anything that felt off? I thought back. Those last few months before Mike died. He was paranoid, I said slowly. More paranoid than usual. He kept checking the apartment for cameras. Made me change all my passwords. Taught me counter-surveillance techniques I didn't understand at the time. The memories came faster. He said if anything happened to him, I should trust no one. Not his colleagues. Not his superiors. No one. Did he say why? He said he'd seen something he shouldn't have. Something that went high up. But he never told me what. My throat tightened. The night before he died, he gave me a key.
Small. Silver.
Said if anything happened, I should get the box it opened and disappear. Never look back. Vincent went very still. Do you still have the key?
Yes.
It's in my apartment. In my jewelry box. And you never got the box? I didn't know where it was. Mike died before he could tell me. And after. I swallowed hard. After, I just wanted to forget. I wanted to move on. So I put the key away and tried to pretend none of it happened. Vincent pulled out his phone.
Davis.
I need you to retrieve something from Claire's apartment. Jewelry box. There's a silver key inside. Bring it to me immediately.
And Davis?
Be careful. We're not the only ones watching that apartment. He hung up and looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. That key might be the answer to everything, he said. Or it might be nothing. But we need to know. Even if it puts you in more danger? I'm already in danger. Have been for years. That's the price of this life. Vincent's voice was soft. But you shouldn't have to pay that price. Not for me. Maybe I want to. The words came out before I could stop them. Vincent's eyes widened slightly. Claire. I'm tired of running. Tired of hiding. Tired of being the victim in everyone's story. I stood up. Mike trained me to be strong.
To fight.
To survive. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that survival isn't the same as living. You said that to me once. And you were right. So, what are you saying? I'm saying I'm not taking Vanessa's deal. I'm not leaving. I'm not giving up.
My voice was stronger now.
Whatever happens next, I'm facing it.
With you.
If you'll have me. Vincent stood slowly. Crossed the space between us. His eyes were dark and intense and searching my face like he was seeing me for the first time. You understand what that means? He asked quietly. Fighting Vanessa means fighting her family, her connections, her resources. Fighting the federal investigation means putting yourself in the crosshairs of people who destroy lives for a living. This isn't just dangerous. It's potentially lethal. I know. And you're choosing this anyway? I'm choosing to stop being afraid. To stop letting other people control my life. I met his eyes. Mike died protecting someone. He thought that mattered enough to die for. Maybe this matters enough to fight for. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. Something warm and fierce, and almost tender. Mike was a lucky man, he said softly. To have someone like you love him. He was the best man I knew. Until I stopped. Couldn't finish the sentence. But Vincent understood. I saw it in his eyes. Saw him understand what I couldn't say out loud yet. That somewhere in the last 5 days, he'd become important to me. That his protection had become something more than just safety. That when I imagined leaving, the thing that hurt most wasn't losing the mansion or the security. It was losing him. Claire. My name was barely a whisper. If we do this, if we really fight this together, there's no going back. Your life will never be simple again. You'll be marked, targeted, changed forever. I was changed forever 3 years ago when Mike died. At least this time I get to choose the fight. Vincent reached up slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, his hand cupped my face gently. His thumb brushed across my bruised cheek, the one Vanessa had marked with her slap. I will protect you with everything I have, he said. You need to know that. Understand that. Whatever comes next, you're not alone in it. I know. We stood there, inches apart, the air between us charged with everything unspoken. I wondered if he was going to kiss me. Wondered if I wanted him to. Wondered when exactly this had stopped being about protection and started being about something else entirely. Davis burst through the door, breaking the moment. Mr. Calabrese. We have a problem. Vincent stepped back immediately, his expression shifting to business. What kind of problem? Ms. Morrison's apartment.
Someone got there before me.
It's been tossed. Completely destroyed. Everything's been thrown around, torn apart. The jewelry box is gone. My heart stopped. Gone. Someone was looking for something specific. And they found it. Davis looked grim. The key is gone. Whatever it opened, someone else has it now. Vincent's face went cold. Dangerous cold. Show me the security footage. Every angle. I want to know who was in that apartment and when. Davis pulled out a tablet and brought up footage. We watched someone in dark clothes and a mask systematically destroy my apartment. They moved with purpose. Professional. Knew exactly what they were looking for. They found the jewelry box in under 3 minutes. Opened it.
Took the key.
And left. The entire thing took 8 minutes. Government. Vincent asked.
No.
These people moved wrong. Too efficient. Too focused. Davis zoomed in on the figure's hands. See that? Military precision. But not current military. These are contractors. Private operators. Working for who? That's the question. Vincent's phone rang. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened further. It's Vanessa. He answered. Put it on speaker. What do you want? Vincent. How nice to hear your voice. Vanessa's tone was sweet poison. I wanted to give Claire a heads up. Her 24 hours are almost up. Only 6 hours left to make her decision. I do hope she's being smart about this. She's not taking your deal. Oh, how unfortunate. Then I suppose tomorrow morning will be very interesting when the restraining order goes active and all my documentation becomes public record. The press will have a field day. Violent stalker living with notorious Vincent Calabrese. I can see the headlines now. You're making a mistake, Vincent said quietly. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm winning. Claire has no job, no home, no reputation, and no future. And you, dear Vincent, are about to face a federal investigation that will tear apart everything you've built. All because you chose some nobody waitress over me. She's not nobody. To you, maybe. But to everyone else? She's exactly what I say she is. Vanessa's voice hardened. 6 hours, Vincent. Make sure she uses them wisely. Because once that clock runs out, there's no going back. She hung up. The silence that followed was deafening. She has the key, I said. My voice sounded hollow. Or she knows who does. That's why she's so confident. She has whatever Mike wanted me to find. Maybe, Vincent said. Or maybe she just wants us to think that. What difference does it make?
She's won.
Everything she said is true. My life is destroyed. And I'm dragging you down with me.
No.
Vincent's voice was sharp. She hasn't won. Not yet. Because she's made one critical mistake. What? She thinks we'll panic. She thinks we'll run or hide or make desperate moves. She thinks we're weak. Vincent's smile was cold. But she doesn't know you. And she's underestimated what we're capable of together. What are we capable of? Something she never saw coming. Vincent turned to Davis. Get me everything you can find on Vanessa's family business. The charity foundation, the investments, the properties. Everything. And get me the names of everyone who was at the dinner the other night. Someone there was watching. Someone reported back to whoever's really running this. You think someone at your own dinner was working against you? I asked. I think Vanessa isn't smart enough to coordinate all this alone. She's the face. But someone else is pulling the strings. Vincent's eyes were dark. And we're going to find out who. My phone buzzed. Another text. But this one was different. Stop looking for the key. The box is empty. It was always empty. Mike died for nothing. I showed it to Vincent. His jaw tightened. They're trying to demoralize you. Make you think Mike's death was meaningless. What if it was? It wasn't. Vincent's voice was certain. Mike knew something. Something important enough that people wanted him dead. Something important enough that they've been watching you for 3 years waiting for you to lead them to it. That key meant something. And we're going to find out what. But even as he said it, I felt something breaking inside me.
Because what if the text was right?
What if Mike had died protecting nothing? What if all his paranoia and training and sacrifice had been for an empty box and meaningless secrets? What if I'd wasted 3 years grieving a man who died for a lie? The thought was too painful to hold. I felt my knees weaken. Vincent caught me before I fell.
Easy.
I've got you. I can't do this, I whispered. I thought I could, but I can't. It's too much. All of it. Vanessa, and the investigation, and Mike, and everything. It's too much. I know. But you're not carrying it alone anymore. Vincent guided me to sit down. We're going to figure this out. Step by step. But right now, you need to rest. You need to breathe. Can you do that for me?
I wanted to say yes.
Wanted to be the strong person he thought I was. But all I could do was nod and try not to fall apart completely. Eleanor appeared with more tea and a blanket. Vincent stayed beside me while the reality of everything crashed down like waves I couldn't escape. My apartment destroyed. My past violated. Mike's death potentially meaningless. Vanessa closing in. Federal agents watching. And somewhere in the middle of it all, feelings for Vincent that I wasn't ready to examine because examining them meant admitting how much I'd come to depend on him. How much I'd come to need him. 6 hours until Vanessa's deadline. 6 hours until my life became public spectacle. 6 hours until everything fell apart completely. Unless we found a miracle. But I'd stopped believing in miracles 3 years ago when Mike died in my arms and took all my faith with him. What I didn't know, what I couldn't see yet through my pain and exhaustion, was that miracles sometimes came dressed as disasters. And in 6 hours, everything I thought I understood about Mike's death, about Vanessa's revenge, about Vincent's protection, was about to be revealed as something completely different. Something so much worse than I could have imagined. But also, somehow, something that would finally set me free. I didn't sleep. Just lay in the too-soft bed in the too-big room and watched the clock count down to Vanessa's deadline. 4 hours. 3 hours. 2 hours. At dawn, I gave up pretending and went downstairs. The house was quiet except for the sound of papers rustling in Vincent's study. I found him there, surrounded by documents and files and photographs spread across every surface. He looked up when I entered. His eyes were bloodshot. He hadn't slept either. Find anything? I asked. Maybe. He gestured to a photograph. This is Vanessa's cousin, Catherine. The one who was rude to you at the dinner. I remember her. She works for a private security firm. Very exclusive clientele. Government contracts. Military operations. Vincent pulled up another photo. And this is one of their senior contractors. Former CIA, specializes in surveillance and intelligence gathering. I looked at the photo. The face was unfamiliar. So, he was at your apartment building 3 days before you moved in here. Davis pulled footage from a neighboring building. Vincent showed me another image. Same man. Different angle. He's the one who planted the surveillance equipment. Which means Catherine hired him. Which means Vanessa's family has been coordinating this from the beginning.
Why?
What do they gain by destroying me? That's what I can't figure out. Vincent rubbed his eyes. Unless it's not about you at all. Unless you're just the pressure point they're using to get to me. What do you mean? Think about it. Vanessa creates a situation that forces you into my protection. Then she escalates until you're completely dependent on me. Then she threatens federal investigation that ties both of us together. She's not trying to destroy you. Vincent's voice was grim. She's trying to destroy me, and she's using you to do it. The words hit me like ice water. I should leave.
Right now. Before the deadline.
If I'm gone, you're not connected to any of this.
No.
Vincent's voice was sharp. That's exactly what she wants. She wants you alone and vulnerable so she can finish whatever she started. You leave. You're a target with no protection. I can protect myself. Against trained contractors? Against people with government resources? Against Catherine's firm? Vincent stood and crossed to me. Claire, these people kill for a living. You're good. You're very good. But you're not that good. So what do I do? Stay here and watch you lose everything because of me. You stay here, and we fight together. Vincent's hands found my shoulders. But I need you to trust me on something. Something that's going to be hard to hear. What? I think we need to meet with Vanessa. Face to face. Before the deadline. I stared at him. Are you insane? I have a restraining order. That's not active for another 90 minutes. We have a window. And I think if we confront her directly, if we show her we're not afraid, she might make a mistake. Vincent's eyes were intense. People like Vanessa, they rely on controlling the narrative. They rely on fear and manipulation and staying at a distance. But up close, face to face, they're not as strong as they pretend. Or she'll have me arrested. Not if we meet somewhere public. Somewhere with witnesses. Somewhere she can't control. Vincent pulled out his phone. I'll call her now. Propose a meeting. Neutral ground. 1 hour before her deadline. If she refuses, we know she's afraid. If she agrees, we get a chance to negotiate. Negotiate what? She wants me gone. She wants to win. But winning looks different when you realize your opponent isn't beaten. Vincent's voice was calm.
Trust me on this.
Please. I thought about it. About Vanessa's smug face. About Catherine's contempt. About everything they'd taken from me in less than a week. Okay, I said. Call her. Vincent dialed. Put it on speaker. Vanessa answered on the second ring. Vincent. Calling to concede. I'm calling to propose a meeting. You, me, and Claire. 1 hour before your deadline. Public place. Final negotiation. Vanessa was quiet for a moment. Why would I negotiate when I'm winning? Because you're not winning. You're just making noise. But if you really want to end this, let's end it face to face. Like adults. And if I refuse? Then everyone will know you're afraid of a waitress who slapped you back. Vincent's voice was mild. Your choice. But we both know which one makes you look stronger. The silence stretched. Then, where? Lincoln Center. The plaza. 60 minutes. Come alone. I don't go anywhere alone anymore. Not after the threats. Bring Catherine if you must. But nobody else. And Claire and I will do the same. Just the 4 of us. Everything out in the open. Another pause.
Fine.
60 minutes. But Vincent? When this is over, I want her gone.
Completely.
That's non-negotiable. We'll see. He hung up. I looked at him. What's the plan? The plan is to force Vanessa to overplay her hand. To push her until she reveals who's really pulling the strings. Vincent started gathering the photographs and documents. But Claire, I need you to do something for me. Something important. What? I need you to record everything. Every word. Every admission. Every threat. He handed me a small device. This is a high-quality recorder. Put it in your pocket. Turn it on before we meet them. Whatever happens, we need documentation. I took the device. It was small and light, and suddenly felt like a weapon. What if they search me? They won't. Vanessa's too arrogant for that. She thinks she's already won. Vincent's eyes met mine. But if this goes wrong, if things escalate, I need you to promise me something. What? Promise me you'll run. Don't try to fight. Don't try to protect me. Just run and get somewhere safe. I'm not leaving you, Claire. I'm not leaving you, I repeated firmly. We face this together or not at all. Vincent studied my face for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Together, he said. We drove to Lincoln Center in silence. Marco at the wheel. The city passing by outside. Normal people living normal lives, completely unaware that everything was about to change. The plaza was busy with tourists and students and people enjoying the autumn morning.
Vincent and I stood near the fountain,
waiting. The recorder was a small weight in my pocket. I'd turned it on before we left the car. Vanessa appeared at exactly 10 a.m. Catherine beside her. Both dressed in expensive casual clothes. Both looking like they owned the world. They stopped 10 feet away. Vincent. Claire. Vanessa's smile was cold. I'm surprised you actually came. You said you wanted to negotiate, Vincent replied. I said I wanted Claire gone. There's nothing to negotiate. Vanessa looked at me. Last chance. Take my offer. Leave the city. Start over. Or stay and watch everything collapse. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Then you're a fool. Catherine spoke for the first time. Her voice was hard. You have no idea what you're caught in the middle of. Then explain it to me, I said. Explain why you've been systematically destroying my life. Explain why you hired contractors to ransack my apartment. Explain why any of this matters so much that you'd go to these lengths. Catherine and Vanessa exchanged a glance. Something passed between them. Something that made my skin crawl. You really don't know, Vanessa said slowly. Vincent didn't tell you. Tell me what? Vanessa's smile widened. The federal investigation isn't about money laundering or racketeering. It's about murder. Specifically, the murder of Michael Morrison, your husband. The world tilted. What? They think Vincent had him killed. Vanessa's voice was almost gentle. They think Mike was getting too close to something. Something about Vincent's operations. And they think Vincent ordered the hit to silence him. That's insane. But even as I said it, I looked at Vincent. Saw something in his expression. Something that made my blood run cold. Vincent. It's complicated, he said quietly. Complicated? My voice rose. Did you have anything to do with Mike's death?
No.
I swear to you, I had nothing to do with it.
But he stopped.
Looked at Vanessa. You're enjoying this. Very much. Vanessa's smile was triumphant. Should I tell her the rest? Or would you like to? Tell me what? I demanded. Vincent's face was anguished. Mike was investigating me. His last assignment before he died. The Secret Service suspected I was involved in something bigger. Something that threatened national security. Mike was sent undercover to gather evidence. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. No, I said. Mike died protecting someone. That's what they told me. He died in the line of duty.
He did, Vincent said.
But the person he was protecting was his cover. The investigation into me was his real mission. And yes, he died in action. But the circumstances were never clear. Which is why the federal agents think I had something to do with it. And they're right, Catherine said. Vincent found out Mike was investigating him. Mike got too close to the truth. So Vincent had him eliminated. Then spent 3 years watching you, waiting to see if Mike told you anything. And when Vanessa came to him with a plan to trap you, to force you into his orbit where he could control you completely, he jumped at the chance. That's not what happened, Vincent said fiercely. Claire, you have to believe me. I had nothing to do with Mike's death. I didn't even know who he was until recently. This is all lies designed to turn you against me. I looked between them. Vincent, whose protection had become my lifeline. Vanessa, whose cruelty had driven me into his arms. Catherine, whose cold certainty made every word feel like truth. Prove it, I said to Vincent. Prove you didn't have Mike killed. I can't prove a negative. That's the problem. I can't prove I didn't do something. Vincent's voice was desperate. But Claire, think about it. If I'd had Mike killed, why would I protect you? Why would I bring you into my home? Why would I risk everything to keep you safe? Because you needed to know what Mike told me, I said slowly. The pieces were falling into place. Terrible pieces that made a terrible picture. You needed to get close to me. To earn my trust. To find out if Mike left any evidence behind.
No.
That's not. Vincent reached for me. I stepped back. Don't touch me. Claire, please. You have to listen. I'm done listening. My voice broke. Mike trained me to survive. He gave me tools and skills and taught me to read people. And you know what he taught me most of all? Never trust someone who has everything to gain from your dependence. Is that what you think this is? Vincent's face was anguished. You think I've been using you? Weren't you? The question hung in the air. Vincent didn't answer fast enough. And that hesitation was answer enough. I knew it, Vanessa said softly. I knew she'd see through you eventually. You're not as clever as you think, Vincent. Shut up, Vincent said without looking at her. His eyes were locked on mine. Claire, I won't lie to you. Yes, initially I was curious about you because of Mike. Yes, I wanted to know what he might have discovered. But that's not why I protected you. That's not why I let you into my home. That's not why he stopped. Swallowed hard. That's not why you matter to me. Pretty words, Catherine said. But words are cheap. Actions speak louder. And your actions say you've been manipulating her from the beginning. I felt tears burning behind my eyes. Refused to let them fall. Claire, Vincent said.
His voice was raw. Please, give me a chance to explain.
All of it. The truth. No more secrets. Just let me tell you everything. Why should I believe anything you say? Because despite everything, you know me. You've seen who I really am. You've watched me work. You've seen me protect people who have nothing to offer me in return. You know I'm not the monster they're painting me as.
Doi.
Because right now, I don't know what to believe. Vanessa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled. Time's up. The restraining order is now active. Claire, you're within 500 feet of me in violation of a court order. I could call the police right now and have you arrested. Then why don't you? I asked. Because I'm giving you one last chance. Walk away from Vincent.
Right now. Come with me.
I'll protect you from the investigation. I'll clear your name. I'll make sure you're safe. All you have to do is tell the truth about what Vincent did. I don't know what Vincent did. That's the problem. Then help us find out. Work with us. Help us put him away for Mike's murder. Vanessa's voice was almost kind. You deserve justice for your husband. Let us give that to you. I looked at Vincent. At the man who'd protected me. Who'd held me when I broke. Who'd looked at me like I mattered. Who'd made me feel alive for the first time in 3 years. But also the man who might have killed my husband. Who might have been using me all along. Who might be the monster everyone said he was. Claire, Vincent said quietly. Whatever you choose, I'll respect it. If you want to walk away, I won't stop you. If you want to work with them, I'll understand. But I'm asking you, please, give me one chance to show you the truth. Not my words. The truth. Real evidence. Something concrete that proves I had nothing to do with Mike's death. You have evidence? Vanessa's smile faltered. I have information. About what Mike was really investigating. About who really wanted him dead. Vincent's eyes never left mine. But I'll only share it with Claire.
Not you.
Not the federal agents. Just her. Because she deserves to know what Mike died for. And she deserves to make her own choice about what happens next. Don't listen to him, Catherine said. It's another manipulation. Another lie. But something in Vincent's voice stopped me. Something that sounded like truth. Or maybe I just wanted it to be truth because the alternative was too painful. 1 hour, I said. You have 1 hour to show me whatever evidence you have. And if it's not convincing, I walk. I cooperate with the investigation. And I never see you again. Agreed. Vincent looked at Vanessa. This isn't over. But the restraining order starts now, so we're leaving. Claire, come with me. Claire, don't, Vanessa said. Once you're in his car, you're trapped. You'll never get away. I looked at her. At her perfect makeup and designer clothes and confident smile. At Catherine beside her, with her cold certainty. At the life they represented. Then I looked at Vincent. At his exhausted eyes and desperate expression and the vulnerability he was showing me in a public plaza. And I made my choice. 1 hour. I said to him, show me the truth. We walked to the car together. I heard Vanessa calling after me. Heard Catherine saying something about making a mistake. But I didn't look back. I got in the car next to Vincent. Marco pulled away from the curb. And as we drove through the city toward wherever Vincent was taking me, I realized something terrifying. I'd just chosen to trust the man who might have killed my husband. Either I was about to learn the truth that would change everything, or I'd just made the last mistake of my life. Vincent didn't speak during the drive. Just stared out the window while Marco navigated through traffic. I watched him, studied his profile, tried to reconcile the man who'd protected me with the possibility that he'd killed Mike. It didn't fit. But then, nothing about the last week fit together cleanly. We pulled up to a building I didn't recognize. Nondescript. Industrial. The kind of place that existed in every city without anyone noticing it. Where are we? I asked. Somewhere safe. Somewhere we can talk without anyone listening. Vincent got out and waited for me to follow. Inside was a single large room. Empty except for a table, 2 chairs, and a laptop already set up and running. Sit, Vincent said. Not a command. A request.
Iset.
He took the chair across from me and opened the laptop. His hands were steady, but his eyes were troubled. Before I show you this, I need to tell you something, he said. I haven't been completely honest with you. Not because I wanted to deceive you, but because I was trying to protect you from something I didn't fully understand yet. Just show me. Claire. You have 58 minutes. Stop wasting them. Vincent nodded. Pulled up a file. A report dated 3 years ago. This is Mike's last assignment. His handler was a man named Director James Sutton. Secret Service. Very high up. Very connected. Vincent turned the laptop, so I could see. Mike was investigating me, yes. But not for the reasons they told you. The official story was that I was involved in money laundering and weapons trafficking. But that was cover. Cover for what? Mike was really investigating corruption within the Secret Service itself. People in positions of power who were selling information.
Taking bribes.
Compromising national security for profit. Vincent pulled up another file. Photos of men in suits. Director Sutton was at the center of it. And Mike was gathering evidence to expose him. I stared at the photos. At names and faces I didn't recognize. I don't understand. What does this have to do with you? Sutton needed a scapegoat. Someone to blame if Mike's investigation got too close. Someone the public would believe was capable of corruption and murder. Vincent's voice was quiet. He chose me. Fed Mike information that made me look guilty. Made it seem like I was the one selling secrets when really it was Sutton and his network all along. So Mike was investigating you, but you were innocent? Mike was investigating me because Sutton pointed him in my direction. But yes, I was innocent of the charges. The problem was that Mike figured it out. He realized Sutton was dirty. Realized he'd been sent after the wrong person. And that's when things went wrong. Vincent pulled up another file. This one was a mission report. Dated the day Mike died. Mike was supposed to be protecting a diplomat. Standard assignment. But someone leaked the location and timing. The attack that killed Mike wasn't random. It was planned. Coordinated. And it was designed to kill Mike specifically, not the diplomat. My throat tightened. Sutton had him killed.
Yes.
Because Mike knew too much. And because dead agents can't testify about corruption. Vincent looked at me directly.
I'm sorry, Claire.
I'm so sorry that I didn't figure this out sooner. That I didn't protect Mike when he needed it. But I swear to you, I had nothing to do with his death. I didn't even know he existed until 6 months ago, when the federal investigation started. How did you find all this? Because I've been investigating Sutton for the last 6 months.
Ever since I learned about Mike.
Ever since I realized someone was trying to frame me for his murder. Vincent pulled up more files. Financial records. Communications. Meeting logs. Sutton has been working with Vanessa's family. Using their private security firm for wet work. Using their connections to move money and silence people. They've built an empire on corruption, and they've been using my name as cover for years. The pieces were falling into place. Terrible pieces that made a terrible picture. And Vanessa? She knew all this. Not at first. But Catherine did. Catherine works for the firm that handled Mike's assassination. And when Vanessa came to me complaining about you, when she painted you as this threatening presence who slapped her, Catherine saw an opportunity. Vincent's jaw tightened. They realized you were Mike's widow. Realized I was being investigated for his death. And they constructed this entire scenario to force us together, to make it look like I was controlling you, to build a narrative that would make the federal case against me stronger. But why? If you're innocent, why not just let the investigation play out? Because investigations don't care about innocence. They care about evidence. And Sutton has spent 3 years manufacturing evidence against me. Phone records. Financial transactions. Witness statements. All fake. All designed to paint me as the villain. Vincent closed the laptop. If this goes to trial, I lose. Even with the truth on my side, I lose. Because he's had too much time to build his case, and I don't have enough to tear it down. What about all this? I gestured to the laptop. This is evidence. It's evidence I obtained through channels that aren't exactly legal, which means it's inadmissible in court, which means it's useless except to show you the truth. Vincent's voice was heavy. I brought you here because I wanted you to know what Mike died for, what he was trying to expose. And because I wanted you to understand that everything I've done, everything I am, it's not what they say. I sat back in the chair, tried to process everything. Mike investigating corruption, Sutton ordering his death, Vincent caught in the middle, Vanessa and Catherine weaponizing me against him. It was too much, too complicated, too painful. Mike gave me a key, I said slowly, the night before he died. He said if anything happened, I should get the box and disappear. Do you know what was in that box? Yes. Vincent pulled something from his pocket, a small silver key. I had Davis retrieve it from the people who ransacked your apartment, and I found the box it opened. He set a small metal box on the table. Opened it. Inside were USB drives and documents and photographs. This is Mike's evidence. Everything he collected on Sutton. Everything he died protecting. Vincent's voice was soft. He left it for you because he knew if anything happened to him, you were the only person he could trust. The only person who would believe him. I picked up one of the USB drives. It felt impossibly small for something Mike had died to protect. Why didn't you tell me about this sooner? Because I didn't know if I could trust you. I didn't know if you'd believe me, or if you'd think I was lying to save myself. Vincent met my eyes. But I also didn't know if showing you would put you in more danger. Sutton has killed to protect his secrets. If he knows you have this evidence, he'll come for you too. He already is. The federal investigation. The surveillance. All of it.
No.
The federal investigation is legitimate. Those agents think I'm guilty, because that's what all the evidence says. They're not corrupt. They're just wrong. Vincent leaned forward. But Sutton? He's been watching you for 3 years, waiting for you to find this box. Waiting for you to become a threat. And the moment Vanessa forced you into my orbit, he knew his time was running out. That's why everything escalated so fast. That's why they've been so aggressive. They're trying to neutralize both of us before we can expose them. So what do? We go public. We take Mike's evidence and we give it to someone who can't be bought. Someone with enough power and credibility that Sutton can't silence them. Vincent pulled out his phone. I have a contact. Federal prosecutor.
Clean. Honest.
She's been trying to build a case against corruption in the intelligence community for years. If we give her this evidence, she can protect us both and make sure Mike's death wasn't for nothing. And Vanessa? Goes down with Sutton. Her family's firm handled the assassination. They're complicit in everything. The evidence in this box proves it. Vincent's smile was cold. She thought she was destroying you to hurt me. But really, she was just giving us the motivation to destroy her entire operation. I looked at the box. At Mike's final gift. At the truth he died protecting. He knew, I whispered. He knew they were going to kill him. That's why he gave me the key. Why he trained me so hard. Why he made me promise to trust no one. He was trying to keep you alive. And he succeeded. You survived 3 years without finding this box. Without becoming a target. He protected you even after death. Tears burned in my eyes. Finally fell. I miss him so much. I know. Vincent's voice was gentle. And I'm sorry I can't bring him back. But I can make sure the people who killed him face justice. If you'll let me. I wiped my eyes. Looked at Vincent. At this man who'd protected me and lied to me, and maybe saved me all at once. What happens after we give this to the prosecutor? Everything changes. Sutton gets arrested. Vanessa's family firm gets raided. The federal investigation into me gets dropped because the evidence against me falls apart. Vincent paused. And you're free. Really free. No more threats. No more surveillance. No more looking over your shoulder. What about you? What about me? Where do you go after all this? What happens to Vincent Calabrese when he's not being investigated for murder? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. I haven't thought that far ahead. Liar. I almost smiled. You're always 3 steps ahead. So, what's the plan? The plan was to clear my name and protect you. After that. He shrugged. I suppose I figure out what life looks like when I'm not constantly fighting to survive it. Sounds lonely. It usually is. The air between us felt charged again, heavy with everything unspoken. I thought about the last week, about living in his house and training in his gym and eating meals across from him and slowly, without meaning to, starting to feel something I hadn't felt since Mike died. Starting to feel alive. Vincent, I said slowly, when this is over, when Sutton and Vanessa and all of it is behind us, what happens to us? His eyes met mine, dark and intense and vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. That depends, he said quietly, on whether you can forgive me for not telling you everything sooner, on whether you believe I'm who I say I am, on whether you want there to be an us. Do you? More than I should. More than is probably wise given everything. Vincent's voice was raw. But yes, Claire. I want there to be an US. I want to wake up and know you're safe. I want to spar with you in the gym and argue with you over dinner and watch you be the strong, brilliant, dangerous person Mike trained you to be. I want all of it. If you'll have me. My heart was pounding. I barely know you. You know me better than most people who've known me for years. You've seen me at my worst. You've questioned me and challenged me and refused to let me hide behind pretty words. You know exactly who I am, Claire Morrison. The question is whether you can accept it. I thought about Mike,
About what he would want for me.
about whether he'd approve of Vincent or tell me to run. But Mike had taught me to trust my instincts, to read people, to see past the surface to the truth underneath. And when I looked at Vincent, I didn't see a monster. I saw a man who'd spent his life fighting in ways most people didn't understand. A man who'd protected me when he had no reason to. A man who'd given me space to be strong instead of demanding I be weak. A man who looked at me like I mattered. I accept it, I said. I accept you. All of it. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. Relief and hope and something tender I couldn't quite name. Then let's end this, he said. Let's give Mike's evidence to the prosecutor. Let's make sure everyone who destroyed him faces consequences. And then let's figure out what comes next. Together? Together. He reached across the table. I took his hand. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I wasn't facing the world alone. We drove to the federal building an hour later. Vincent had called ahead. His contact, Prosecutor Sarah Mitchell, met us in a private conference room. Sharp eyes. Professional demeanor. The kind of person who'd spent a career fighting corruption and wasn't about to stop now. Vincent handed her the box. Explained everything. Showed her the files and evidence and documentation Mike had died to collect. She listened without interrupting. Took notes. Asked pointed questions. And when Vincent finished, she looked at both of us with an expression I couldn't quite read. This is extensive, she said. If it's all legitimate, it's enough to bring down Director Sutton and everyone connected to him.
But I need to verify it.
Cross-reference. Make sure it holds up. How long? Vincent asked. 48 hours. Maybe 72. Sarah looked at me. Ms. Morrison, I'm very sorry for your loss. Your husband was a good man. And if this evidence is what Mr. Calabrese says it is, he died a hero. I'll make sure everyone knows that. Thank you, I whispered. In the meantime, you both need to stay somewhere safe. Sutton will know you've come forward the moment I start pulling files. He'll know his time is limited. And desperate people do desperate things. They can stay with me, Vincent said. My security is better than anything you could provide. Sarah studied him for a moment, then nodded.
Fine.
But Mr. Calabrese? If this evidence doesn't check out, if there's any indication you've manipulated it, I will come for you with everything I have. Understood? Understood. Vincent's voice was calm. But it will check out. Because it's the truth. And the truth is all I have left. We left the federal building and drove back to Vincent's mansion. The sun was setting. The city looked beautiful in the golden light. For the first time in a week, I felt like I could breathe. It's almost over, I said. Almost. We pulled through the gates. Marco parked the car. Vincent and I walked to the house together. Eleanor met us at the door. Mr. Calabrese, you have visitors. They arrived 20 minutes ago. I told them to wait in the sitting room. Something in her tone made Vincent tense. Who? Director Sutton. And Ms. Vanessa Hartwell. My blood went cold. Vincent's hand found mine and squeezed. Call the police, he said to Eleanor. Tell them we have intruders. Then get somewhere safe. Already done, sir. They're 5 minutes out. Vincent looked at me. Stay behind me, no matter what happens. We walked to the sitting room together. And there they were. Sutton, tall and silver-haired and radiating authority. Vanessa beside him, her smile sharp and triumphant. Vincent, Sutton said. His voice was smooth, cultured. I believe you have something that belongs to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Mike Morrison's evidence. The box he left for his widow. I know you found it. I know you gave it to Sarah Mitchell. Sutton's smile was cold. And I'm here to collect the copies. Because I know you made copies. You're too smart not to. There are no copies. Everything went to the prosecutor. Liar. Sutton pulled out a gun. Small.
Compact. Pointed directly at me.
Tell me where the copies are, or I shoot Ms. Morrison. Simple choice. Vincent moved in front of me instantly. Touch her, and you're a dead man. Dramatic. But ultimately pointless. You're not going to let her die to protect some USB drives. Sutton's finger moved to the trigger. Last chance. Where are they? There are no copies, I said from behind Vincent. My voice was steady. Everything went to the prosecutor. You're too late. Then I suppose you're both useless to me. Sutton's expression was cold. Vanessa, dear, would you like to do the honors? I believe Ms. Morrison cost you quite a bit of dignity. Vanessa pulled out a gun of her own. Smaller than Sutton's, but just as deadly. She pointed it at Vincent. This could have been so simple, she said. You could have just let Claire go.
Could have stayed out of it.
But you had to play hero. Had to protect the poor widow. And now you're both going to die for it. Police are 2 minutes out, Vincent said calmly. You shoot us, you go to prison. Or, we shoot you, and claim self-defense. That you attacked us. That we feared for our lives. Sutton shrugged. I've been covering up murders for 3 years. I think I can handle 2 more. The air in the room felt electric. Dangerous. I could feel Vincent calculating odds, planning moves. Could feel my own training clicking into place. We were outgunned.
Trapped.
2 minutes from help that might come too late. But I was done being afraid. Done being the victim. Done letting people like Sutton and Vanessa control my life. I stepped out from behind Vincent. Faced them directly. You killed my husband, I said. My voice was steady.
Cold.
You murdered a good man because he was going to expose you. And now you're going to kill me because you're too much of a coward to face the consequences. Claire, get back, Vincent said urgently. But I ignored him. Took another step forward. Watching Sutton. Watching Vanessa. Reading their body language the way Mike had taught me. Sutton's hand was steady. Professional. He'd killed before. Would kill again. But Vanessa's hand trembled slightly. She wanted to pull the trigger. Wanted to hurt me. But she'd never actually killed anyone before. She was hesitating. That hesitation was everything. You're not going to shoot me, I said to Vanessa. You're too weak. I'm not weak, she spat. Prove it. Pull the trigger. Claire, stop, Vincent said. But I heard admiration in his voice. Understanding. He saw what I was doing. Pull the trigger, I repeated. Show me you're not the spoiled, entitled coward everyone knows you are. Prove you're strong enough to actually finish what you started. Vanessa's face twisted with rage. Her finger tightened on the trigger. I moved. Fast. Faster than she expected. I closed the distance between us in 2 steps, knocked the gun aside with one hand, drove my elbow into her face with the other. She went down hard, screaming. The gun skittered across the floor. Sutton swung his weapon toward me. But Vincent was already moving. He hit Sutton's arm, sent the shot wild. The bullet buried itself in the ceiling. They grappled. Two men fighting for control of a weapon that meant life or death. I scrambled for Vanessa's gun.
Got my hands on it. Turned.
Sutton had broken free from Vincent. Had his gun pointed at Vincent's chest. Was pulling the trigger. I fired first. The sound was deafening. Sutton staggered. Looked down at the blood spreading across his shirt. Looked at me with surprise. "You shot me," he said, like he couldn't quite believe it. "Yes." My voice was steady. "I did."
He fell. Hit the floor hard.
His gun slipped from his fingers. Sirens wailed outside. Getting closer. The police Vincent had called. Help arriving just seconds too late. Vincent crossed to me. Took the gun gently from my shaking hands. "Are you hurt?" he asked.
No.
"Are you?"
No.
We stood there, looking at each other. At Sutton bleeding on the floor. At Vanessa crying and holding her broken nose. At the end of everything that had started with a slap in a restaurant a week ago. "It's over," I whispered.
Yes.
"It's over." Police burst through the door moments later. Paramedics behind them. The house filled with voices and movement and controlled chaos. Sarah Mitchell arrived 30 minutes later. Took our statements. Looked at Sutton being loaded into an ambulance. "He'll live," she said. "Unfortunately. But he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. Along with Ms. Hartwell and everyone else connected to this." She looked at me. "You did good, Ms. Morrison. Your husband would be proud." "Thank you." The police finished their work around midnight. Left us alone in the mansion that had become a crime scene. Eleanor had cleaned up the sitting room as best she could. Made tea neither of us wanted. Vincent and I sat in his study. Exhausted. Traumatized.
Alive.
"You could have been killed," Vincent said quietly. "When you stepped in front of me. When you provoked Vanessa. You could have died. But I didn't. Because you got lucky.
No.
Because Mike trained me well. And because you taught me that surviving isn't the same as living." I looked at him. "I'm done just surviving, Vincent. I want to live. Really live. And I want to do it with you." He crossed to where I sat. Knelt in front of me. Took my hands in his. "I love you," he said. Simple.
Direct.
True. I didn't mean to. Didn't plan to. But somewhere in the last week, you became the most important person in my world. And I need you to know that. Need you to understand what you mean to me. Tears filled my eyes. "I love you too." Which is terrifying because I swore I'd never feel this way about anyone after Mike. But here we are. Here we are, Vincent agreed softly. He leaned forward. Kissed me gently. And for the first time since Mike died, I let myself feel something other than grief. I let myself feel hope. 3 months later, I stood in the gym in Vincent's basement and watched him spar with Marco. They moved with practiced ease now. Marco had stopped underestimating what women could do after I'd put him on the floor twice more in training sessions. "You're getting slow," I called out. Vincent laughed. Actually laughed. It was a sound I'd learned to love over the past few months. They finished. Vincent grabbed a towel and crossed to where I stood. "Slow? I'm offended." "You should be. I could have taken you down 3 times in that last sequence." "Prove it." His eyes gleamed with challenge. "Later. Right now we have somewhere to be." We drove into the city together. The charges against Vincent had been dropped completely. Sutton's evidence had fallen apart under scrutiny. The prosecutor had issued a public apology. Vincent's name was cleared. Vanessa was in prison awaiting trial. Catherine too. Along with half a dozen other people connected to Sutton's network. The corruption Mike had died exposing was finally coming to light. And Mike was being honored. Posthumously. A ceremony at the Secret Service headquarters. Recognition for the hero he'd been. I was nervous about it. About seeing his colleagues. About facing the past I'd tried to forget. But Vincent's hand found mine as we walked into the building. Squeezed gently. A reminder I wasn't alone. The ceremony was simple. Dignified. They presented me with a medal. Spoke about Mike's courage and sacrifice. Said words that were true, but somehow not enough to capture who he'd really been. Afterward, Mike's former partner approached me. Tom Watson. I remembered him from the funeral. He'd been kind then. He was kind now. Claire, I'm so sorry we couldn't tell you the truth back then, he said. Mike made us promise. Made us swear that if anything happened, we'd protect you by keeping you in the dark.
I understand, I said. And I did.
Mike had been protecting me, the only way he knew how. He talked about you all the time, Tom continued. Said you were the strongest person he knew. Said you could handle anything life threw at you. He glanced at Vincent. I think he'd be glad you found someone. Glad you're not alone. Thank you, I whispered. We left the ceremony and drove to the cemetery. I hadn't been there since the funeral. Couldn't face it. But today felt different. Today I had things I needed to say. Vincent waited by the car while I walked to Mike's grave. The headstone was simple. Just his name and dates, and the words "died protecting others." Hi, I said softly. I'm sorry it took me so long to visit. I was angry at you for leaving. Angry at the world. Angry at everything. I sat down on the grass. But I'm not angry anymore. Or at least, I'm learning not to be. The breeze rustled through the trees. Peaceful. Quiet. I met someone, I continued. His name is Vincent. You'd probably hate him at first because he's everything you warned me about. Dangerous. Complicated. Living in gray areas. But you'd also respect him because he protected me when I needed it. He saw me the way you saw me. As someone strong. Someone capable. Someone worth fighting for. I wiped tears I hadn't realized were falling. I love him, Mike. And I feel guilty about that because you were my everything. But I also know you'd want me to be happy. You trained me to survive, but you also taught me that life is precious. That we have to grab happiness when we find it because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. I placed my hand on the headstone. Thank you for everything you gave me. The skills, the strength, the love. Thank you for protecting me even after you were gone. And thank you for teaching me that I'm stronger than I ever believed I could be. I stood, looked back at Vincent waiting patiently. At the man who'd become my future. I'll visit more, I promise, Mike. I'll tell you about everything. About Vincent and the life we're building. About how I'm using everything you taught me.
You'll always be part of me, Mike.
Always. But I'm ready to move forward now. I think you'd understand that. I walked back to Vincent. He pulled me into his arms without speaking. Just held me while I cried for the man I'd loved and lost and would always remember. You okay? He asked finally.
Yeah,
I am. We drove back to the mansion. But it didn't feel like Vincent's mansion anymore. It felt like ours. Like home. I'd moved my things in permanently 2 months ago. We converted one of the guest rooms into a training space just for me. Eleanor had started teaching me to cook Vincent's favorite meals. Life had become something I'd never expected. Vincent ran his businesses. I'd started working as a consultant for his security operations. Using Mike's training. Using my skills. Making a difference in ways I never could have as a waitress. We weren't perfect.
We argued sometimes.
Vincent still kept secrets he thought were protecting me. I still had nightmares about Mike and Sutton, and the night everything almost ended. But we were building something. Together. Something real and strong and honest. That evening, we had dinner with some of Vincent's associates. Joseph Ricci, the contractor whose business Vincent had saved. Thomas Brennan, the district attorney who'd helped clear Vincent's name. Father O'Brien from St. Catherine's. We ate and talked and laughed. I watched Vincent in his element. Confident. Commanding. But also softer than he used to be. More willing to show vulnerability. He told me once that I reminded him there was still courage in the world. But he reminded me there was still hope. Still possibility. Still reasons to fight and love and live. After everyone left, we sat on the terrace overlooking the gardens. The night was cool. Stars visible despite the city lights. I have something for you, Vincent said. He handed me a small box. Inside was a key. Silver. Similar to the one Mike had given me, but different. What's this? Key to a safe deposit box. In your name. With copies of everything related to Mike's case. His evidence. The investigation. Everything. Vincent's voice was soft. So you'll always have access to the truth. So no one can ever hide it from you again. I held the key. Felt the weight of it. The trust it represented. Thank you. And this. He handed me another box. Smaller. I opened it to find a simple necklace. Silver chain. Small pendant in the shape of a compass. So you always know which direction you're heading, Vincent said. Even when everything else feels uncertain. I put it on. The metal was cool against my skin. I love it. I love you. I love you too. He pulled me close. More than I thought I could love anyone. We sat in comfortable silence. Two people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances and somehow made it work. What happens now? I asked. What's next for us? Whatever we want. The world is open. No more threats. No more investigations. Just possibilities. That sounds terrifying. Vincent laughed. It does, doesn't it? But also exciting. What do you want? To wake up next to you every morning. To train with you and argue with you and build something that matters. To show you that this world, my world, it's not all darkness. There's light too, if you know where to look. I'm starting to see it. Good. Vincent kissed my forehead. Because I need you to keep reminding me it exists. I need you to keep me human. I can do that. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. My heart jumped. Old fear rising automatically. But this text was different. Ms. Morrison, this is Sarah Mitchell. I wanted to let you know that Sutton was sentenced today. Life without parole. Justice was served. Your husband's legacy is secure. Thank you for your courage. I showed Vincent. He smiled. It's really over, I said.
Yes.
It's really over. We stayed on the terrace until midnight, talking about dreams and plans and the future we'd build together. Vincent mentioned expanding his legitimate businesses. I mentioned maybe teaching self-defense to women who needed it, using Mike's training to help others. Everything felt possible. Everything felt new. When we finally went inside, Eleanor had left a note on the kitchen counter. Mr. Calabrese, your sister's foundation contacted you. They'd like to discuss a partnership opportunity. Also, a young woman called asking about protection services. She sounded frightened. Number attached. Vincent looked at the note. Then at me. Tomorrow, he said. We'll handle it tomorrow. Together? Always together. We went upstairs. To the bedroom we'd started sharing. To the life we'd built from pain and danger and impossible circumstances. I looked at myself in the mirror. Saw someone different than the woman who'd served coffee at Romano's. Someone stronger. Someone who'd faced darkness and survived. Someone who'd learned to fight and love and live again. Mike's training had prepared me to survive. Vincent's love had taught me to live. And tomorrow, we'd help someone else do the same. Because that's what we did now. We protected people. We fought for justice. We made sure that people like Sutton and Vanessa didn't win. We were partners. In every sense of the word. And as I drifted off to sleep in Vincent's arms, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years.
Peace.
Real peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of purpose. The presence of love. The presence of someone who saw me completely and chose to stay anyway. Mike had given me strength. Vincent had given me hope. And together, they'd given me back my life. Friend, thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. For walking beside me through pain and fear and darkness into something better. Something real. If you believe that strength isn't about how you fall, but how you get back up, if you believe that love can find us even in our darkest moments, then please tap subscribe and join this community. Because I've got more stories to share. More journeys to take you on. More reminders that we're all stronger than we think we are. I've picked out another story just for you. You should see it on the screen now. Another tale of courage and redemption and people finding their power when they need it most. I hope to see you there. Until then, remember, you're stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and you're never as alone as you think you are.